Alrighty, welcome back everybody to our latest live stream after about good 10 minutes of technical difficulties. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. We got a pretty detailed live stream coming up for you on the severe weather outbreak for tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. I'll be talking about the threats, the timing, really everything that you know is going to be in this live stream, more than what I even mentioned in today's forecast. I have about 50 different tabs open with different things to talk about in this live stream. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure to like the stream and also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss another weather forecast or weather live stream. Let's begin though with the overall setup for today. I'm going to go into the timing and also the threats here in just a second, but for what's happening right now, we actually have a low pressure system developing over areas near Nebraska. This is where our low pressure system is currently located, and we've actually seen a couple of severe storms tonight. You may have noticed there's actually been some golf ball sized hail out of a storm or two back over in Nebraska. Look here, look kind of like in the center of Nebraska there. You can see those dark reds appearing. Those are really high cloud tops, and we're actually seeing a couple of severe storms this evening back over in Nebraska. But overall, for those in the southern plains, a strong cap has remained in place, and this is all due to a lot of cloud cover that's been moving from southwesterly winds. So that's going to keep any severe weather potential down in Texas and Oklahoma tonight pretty much to a zero for those areas, but there is going to be a chance for some severe weather as we head into tomorrow. So what's going to happen over the next several days? Well, again, that low pressure system is going to strengthen overnight tonight. What this is going to do is bring us the threat for severe weather tomorrow and even a threat for a small winter storm. Once we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening, that is when we'll be watching for some more severe weather to really ramp up. This is where I would expect the greatest severe weather potential will be across this region, anywhere from Texas all the way back through the Midwest into the Mississippi Valley. Once we go into the evening and overnight hours, that is when a winter storm will impact areas in Wisconsin. I know for those in southern Wisconsin, you might see some severe weather and a threat for some snow. Pretty crazy stuff there for sure. Once we go into Saturday, that is when that low pressure system races off to the north and east. And look at this, a nice weekend is ahead. We'll have a dominant high pressure system, which will keep that entire region dry and really just nice overall. So any sort of damage that does happen, you'll have at least the weekend to repair it. And then once we go into Sunday into Monday of next week, it'll stay pretty dry. We'll be watching for another storm mid to late next week. This looks insane on the computer models, but things change a lot this far out. We'll be watching for this as we go into next week. But let's really talk about what's going to happen tomorrow, because the Storm Prediction Center has made some pretty big changes to the forecast recently, including two areas of a moderate risk of severe weather. And I've had some people wondering, will they go to a high risk with this event, or will this moderate risk grow? I don't think this will go to a high risk for multiple reasons, but I don't think this is going to be really going to a high risk unless we see a moderate risk of severe weather really large tomorrow, which would basically be across this entire region. Right now, there's two moderate risks of severe weather, and they're pretty small. If this entire region here became a moderate risk of severe weather, which isn't out of the question, I wouldn't rule out a small high risk for damaging winds, but I wouldn't even go that far at this point. I think the threats are going to probably stay around moderate, but again, I could be wrong. I'm not the Storm Prediction Center. But that's the area that I'm really more concerned about for severe weather will be these two red circles. That is where our tornado threat is the highest, along with our damaging wind potential. Those two regions in particular are where we're watching for a pretty significant damaging wind and as well as a tornado risk there. Now, in terms of the damaging wind risk, we do have a 45% probability within a 25-mile radius in that purple shaded region in western Illinois, back through eastern Iowa, and as well as a very small sliver of southwestern Wisconsin. So if you're in Wisconsin, you are actually very barely included in that moderate risk of severe weather. Also includes a small little corner there of northeastern Missouri. Now, really the main concern over this direction will be a threat for damaging winds in excess of 60 to 80 miles per hour. I wouldn't rule out a storm that gets closer to 90 miles per hour in damaging wind potential. So make sure you take the proper precautions tonight. Have multiple ways to receive warnings. Charge your batteries, or charge your phones, not your batteries. Charge your phones. Also make sure to put batteries into your flashlights in case power does go out tomorrow, because it's definitely going to happen if you see damaging winds exceeding 80 miles per hour. This is the region, though, that we have the biggest concern for damaging winds exceeding 70 miles per hour in a few isolated locations. In terms of the tornado risk, it is currently a 15% probability within a 25-mile radius in this red shaded region, and that is going to be my main key. I honestly think that this is the main area for a tornado threat tomorrow, which will be eastern Iowa back through western Illinois. There's another area down to the south that also has my interest in terms of a tornado threat. So if you're storm chasing, this is probably going to be the main two areas. Will be here as well as back down to the south, which I'll show you in just a moment. There's also a hatched area. You can see that black hatched area. What this means is that there is a threat for EF2 plus tornadoes in this region. I would not expect, you know, a bunch of those sort of tornadoes, but there will probably at least be a couple across that area that are potentially long-tracked and strong tornadoes. So make sure that you have a tornado action plan in place tonight, because there probably will be at least some sort of strong tornado or two across this region. So again, make sure that you're prepared for that sort of aspect. A bit further down to the south, the damaging wind threat is actually slightly lower in terms of the percent probability, but I would still prepare the same way as this area back up here that's in that moderate risk of damaging winds. Make sure that you have a plan in place in case there are any warnings or watches as well in your area. Make sure you have ways to receive alerts, and also bring loose line items inside. Hatch down trampolines. I could not stress that enough. And in fact, again, I make a trampoline meter for a reason. A couple of weeks ago in DFW, there was a full-blown trampoline outbreak. I had over 300 images in 24 hours of trampolines either on power poles, in somebody else's yard, damaged, destroyed. There is a reason why I have this graphic. It is not for memes or anything like that. This is a legitimate graphic that I made for this sort of case. There's currently an extreme risk for some flying trampolines tomorrow into Saturday morning from non-severe thunderstorm wind gusts. That would be from just regular wind gusts behind the low pressure system. So again, make sure that you hatch down your trampolines. I cannot stress that enough. And I honestly, this from what I saw the other week in DFW, makes me not want to ever buy a trampoline. So that's just kind of my little take on that. But that's what we're looking at in terms of that right now. Again, hatched area will represent your chance for at about a 10% probability within a 25-mile radius of damaging winds exceeding 70 miles per hour. So that's a possibility down in that direction. Again, hatched areas are really where we're watching for some very significant severe weather. The tornado threat as well is currently a 15% probability, and this is really another concerning area for tornadoes. I honestly, you know, I know we saw that tornado outbreak last week. This, I don't think, will shape out to be exactly like that, but this is going to definitely be pretty concerning. I mean, we're watching for the threat of multiple tornadoes, which, again, a few of those could be strong across, again, a large area. Not everybody's going to see a tornado, and in fact, not everybody's going to see severe weather, but the most concerning areas for those threats lie in parts of the Midwest and as well as back down here into the lower and mid-Mississippi Valley. I do have a lot of concerns right here along the Mississippi Valley for a tornado threat tomorrow, because supercells will really quickly rotate and develop, and the low-level jet is going to be really almost off the charts tomorrow. We're watching for a low-level jet upwards of almost 90 knots in some areas, which is very concerning for a tornado threat. I'll talk about this here in just a second. I need a sip of water. By the way, I'll be answering questions here in just a moment. All right, so let's talk about the jet stream. The jet stream does have a pretty big play into why we're going to see severe weather tomorrow. Actually, the jet stream is quite impressive. I mean, we're watching for very strong southwesterly winds. What this is going to help to do is, again, rotate some of these supercells, create really much stronger updrafts into these thunderstorms as well. We have a low pressure system that's going to be centered here over Nebraska as we go into tomorrow afternoon. This is going to be most likely a negatively tilted trough. What this will, again, help to do is rotate supercells, and that's why this is just such a dangerous setup. And it's also helping to create southwesterly flow, which will again lead to the threat for some severe weather tomorrow. Luckily, this will not stay that way once it goes off to the north and east, but again, a very concerning setup, especially with all the moisture that we're going to see coming out of the Gulf of Mexico as well tomorrow. Another huge concerning feature to this is the low-level jet. I just mentioned this like 2 seconds ago, but the low-level jet is very concerning, especially across the Midwest and back through the Mississippi Valley. Values upwards of 70 to 80 knots are currently being estimated by the European model for the low-level jet. And if we go closer with the HRR model, which I think is a bit more accurate, is showing the potential for a low-level jet really cranking upwards of 70 to 80 knots, and it even has estimated upwards of 90 knots. I have honestly never seen values this high, at least in the last year. I mean, I can't recall, at least. There might have been an event or two that had been upwards of 90 knots, but I have not really recalled something this crazy where we're seeing a low-level jet this strong around 80 to 90 knots. But again, this is an estimate. This is not, you know, this is just kind of a forecast. It's not for sure going to happen, but it definitely is a possibility here across this region. Once we go throughout Friday night to Saturday, that low-level jet is still cranking as it moves off to the east. And you may notice, by the way, going into Saturday morning, the low-level jet is very strong in this area. You see those dark yellows. That is not a tornado threat, by the way. This is the south end of this low-pressure system. Our dry line and cold front will be back out to the east. So no concern for a tornado threat going into like late, or not late Saturday, but going into like the early to mid-Saturday across this region, I'm not that concerned about a tornado threat. This will just be from behind the low pressure system and behind all those severe storms. And another big feature to this is the moisture. And you may have noticed if you're down in the southern plains, there has been a ton of humidity today. It really changed from being very dry to now really oppressive across those areas. The low pressure system has a lot to do with it. Strong southerly winds are carrying a ton of moisture up to the north. And what this is going to do tomorrow is really lift moisture super far off to the north. Again, we have a very strong low pressure system, and what that's going to help to do is create very strong southerly winds near the surface and as well as in the mid-latitude levels, which will lead to a lot of this moisture leading all the way up into areas like southern Wisconsin, which again, this is a rare event for this time of the year. We typically do not see severe weather events this far off to the north, at least to the magnitude and intensity that this is currently forecasted to be. But again, this is definitely an area to be watching for. Dew points go into the 50s as far north as Michigan and as well as Wisconsin. Crazy stuff for sure. I'll be talking about, by the way, I'm going to answer questions here in just a second. I have a lot more graphics to get through. Hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions over these next few graphics. I have a ton of other stuff, including timing, by the way. Severe weather timing's coming up here in like probably 2 minutes. So in terms of the instability as well, this is what helps to fuel thunderstorms and obviously severe storms. This is basically like putting gasoline into a vehicle. That is basically what this is when it comes to instability. And the instability values tomorrow across areas like the Midwest and as well as even through the mid-Mississippi Valley, we're talking about values upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 joules per kilogram. That is a lot of instability. This is really going to help to create more severe storms across this region. Once we go into Friday night to Saturday morning, that instability drops pretty substantially as daylight heating ends, and eventually going into Saturday, there will still be some instability. I know some people are wondering, will there be severe weather on Saturday? The threat is very low, and the only areas in particular will be down here in the southeast, and as well as maybe even into New York. We could actually see a couple of severe storms, and again, I know it's pretty early for this time of the year to see severe weather up there, but it's going to be a low-end threat anyways. All right, this is a really important graphic that I want to show you. I'm actually going to go through two different runs here. I don't know if this has changed at all. This is the HRR 18Z run. They probably have not changed that drastically, but I'm going to go through this. The significant tornado parameter. This is pretty critical in terms of the tornado threat for tomorrow, what we're talking about in terms of where the highest tornado threat is and where the lowest tornado threat is and whatnot. So let's go through Friday morning. Again, the tornado parameter values might be spiking a bit, but we're not going to really see any storm development until the late afternoon and evening. So really when we get closer to when the storms are developing, the HRR model goes pretty crazy. I mean, look up here to the top of your screen. 9.4. I don't remember the last time that a computer model's like spit out a 9.4 value or even higher than that. That's pretty rare, and this only goes up to 10, so that's pretty significant in terms of a tornado parameter value. Again, I really do have some concern about a tornado threat across this region. If you're in this area, have a tornado action plan in place. Again, no reason to panic. Just make sure you have a plan in place in case there is some sort of tornado action in that region tomorrow, which there probably will be. Another area that I have a lot of concern about is further down here to the south, and that will be across areas near the Mississippi River, and this is where we very well could see values upwards of 3 to 4, which is kind of in the medium sector of the tornado parameter. So that's another concerning area. Really through about 9 or 10 o'clock, it is really when that tornado threat will be the highest. It will diminish as it moves off to the east. You may notice if you're over in Indiana or Ohio, your tornado threat is much lower. You will not have to be as concerned, but still have a way to receive alerts and go over that tornado safety plan tonight in case there is any sort of tornado action. A bit further down to the south, back through Mississippi and as well as going into Alabama, the values are still upwards of 2 to 3, so we might see an isolated tornado or two down that direction once we go into the overnight hours Friday and as well as into Saturday morning. Real quickly, let me go through the latest run here. I don't know if it's changed at all, so let's just check this out real quick. And yeah, it has changed a little bit, but I think that's more out in front of the storms. Let's see. Yeah, so it has changed just a little bit. Now, this is just a computer model run. Obviously, things change a lot as we get closer. I don't think there's going to be any major changes to the forecast tomorrow in terms of the tornado threat and all that sort of stuff. But the most recent HRR model run on the significant tornado parameter actually shows a bit more of a central Illinois sort of threat for a tornado threat. So this might be an area to watch as well. Threat and maybe has shifted slightly. We'll have to look at some of the other computer model runs in just a second, but that might be something to keep a close eye on. We'll go back to that here in a moment. This is also the energy helicity index. What this basically is where we will have rotating supercells. Values over 2 typically have rotating supercells. This does not mean we're going to see tornadoes with every single cell. It just means that this is basically an estimate of what the rotation is, and any value higher than 2, which is going to be those yellow shaded areas, will have probably some sort of rotation in these supercells. And by the way, that's pretty much every single cell that will probably be rotating tomorrow. I'm not going to say like every single one, but most of them will probably be rotating to some extent, which could lead to a tornado threat. But obviously, again, not every rotating cell produces tornadoes. We've had a lot of rotating supercells in the past that never produce a tornado. Obviously, the majority of them will not produce a tornado, but with this sort of index, again, upwards of 5 to 6, that is a pretty hefty rotating supercells that we might see back over in western Illinois tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, let's go through the timing. I'm going to go state by state, so if you are living in another area, I'm going to get to it here in just a moment. Let's begin with Iowa. Iowa is going to be a little bit of an interesting area to watch for. There will be a little bit of convection overnight tonight. Nothing that's going to really prevent severe storms. Once we get to tomorrow afternoon, that is when things will start to get a little bit hectic. So by 1 o'clock, we'll be watching down in southeastern parts of Iowa for maybe a storm or two, but things really explode by 3 to 4 o'clock. And you may notice on the computer models here, the HRR model, they actually do show a little bit of a hook on these storms on the computer models, which is kind of crazy to look at. But this is basically showing what we're going to see tomorrow. We're probably going to have a lot of these storms with hooks or at least some sort of strong inflow, which could lead to the threat for a tornado threat with some of these supercells. Once we get closer to 4 to 5 o'clock, that is when storms really explode. This is pretty close to the low pressure system, so the low level jet and all that will be a bit higher naturally over this direction, which will potentially lead to that tornado threat. But if you're in Iowa, any part of Iowa tomorrow, after 8 o'clock, this severe weather threat will start to diminish. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I have to drink a little bit of water here and there. All right, let's go back through Illinois as well as Indiana. Going through tomorrow morning, again, there will be a lot of convection. And this is, again, pretty much almost like guaranteed across this region that you'll probably see some sort of showers and maybe an isolated storm tomorrow morning, but none of this is going to get too crazy. I mean, we're not talking about severe weather tomorrow morning. Once we get closer to around lunchtime, that is when some convection will really start to really go down across western Illinois. A lot of this right now in the computer model runs are really more indicative of damaging winds and hail, not necessarily a super high tornado threat with these initial cells. But once we get closer to 3 to 4 o'clock, that is when things start to get a little bit more dicey, especially across areas here in western Illinois. That is where we could see some storms really start to rotate and potentially produce that tornado threat. Closer areas like Galesburg and Davenport, eventually going closer to 6 to 7 o'clock. This becomes a bit more of a defined area of storms, more of like a line, a linear line of storms. What this will do is produce more of a damaging wind threat with maybe a couple of embedded tornadoes. So this could actually become a QLCS situation, which basically just means what I just said, damaging winds with a few embedded tornadoes in that line of storms. Once we go closer to 8 to 9 o'clock, that line will be moving through Chicago, South Bend, back through areas along the Illinois and Indiana border, and eventually by 10 to 11 o'clock, that line moves off to the east and starts to gradually weaken. A bit further down to the south through Arkansas, this is another concerning area for some supercells. Some early morning convection may give off, but by the afternoon, that is when some of these rotating supercells will develop. Notice a few areas in particular. It's pretty much across the entire state, but this is kind of really where we're looking at some of those rotating supercells extending from, again, anywhere from Missouri back into even northern parts of Louisiana and maybe even into northeast Texas. Once we go closer to 4 to 5 o'clock, storms will move a bit further off to the east, and by 6 to 7 o'clock, those storms are moving into Memphis and as well as Dyersburg, which most of these will be producing more of a damaging wind threat by that point after 8 to 9 o'clock if you're over in those regions. All right, for those kind of in southern Illinois, southern Indiana, anywhere in Kentucky or Tennessee, this is your timing. So once we go through tomorrow morning, again, a lot of convection. None of this is severe for the most part, maybe isolated quarter-sized hail if any of these storms actually are able to produce that. I don't think they'll be able to, just due to the fact a lot of this will be elevated convection. We're not really looking at a whole lot of a hail or damaging wind threat. But once we go into the afternoon and evening, that is when storms really start to enter into areas like southern Illinois, for example. That's where we'll be watching for some severe storms. This is 6 o'clock. This area is a bit of a concern, maybe for an isolated, or not isolated, more of like a damaging wind threat here. Potential for maybe a few tornadoes will exist across that entire region from Illinois back through Arkansas. By 7 to 8 o'clock, storms are moving into western Kentucky and western Tennessee. This is out in front of the dry line and cold front. So what this is basically going to be is more of some of the discrete action. That means there might be a bit more of a higher tornado threat with these storms. By 9 to 10 o'clock, that is when a line of storms will start to approach, and that is going to be more of a concern for damaging winds winds with maybe a few embedded brief tornadoes. I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado out of one of these clusters if they're able to have a bit more of like a bowing segment, but I don't think there will be a whole lot of that down here in Kentucky or Tennessee. By 1 to 2 in the morning, all those storms move off to the east, and you are done by Saturday morning in terms of at least the severe weather threat. Back through Mississippi and Alabama, I'm not too concerned about this region for most of Friday. If you're in northwestern Mississippi, that is when severe weather will enter into your region by around 6 to 7 o'clock. By 10 to 11, those storms move off to the east, and they will be moving through areas like Birmingham. Overnight, this might have a bit more of a damaging wind potential with maybe an isolated tornado threat. So if you're anywhere in this region, make sure they have multiple ways to receive warnings, and again, have a plan in place in case there's any severe weather in your region, which there probably will at least be some scattered damaging winds back down that direction. For those on Saturday, there's not a whole lot to be worried about. There is a couple of marginal threats of severe weather. This is kind of what we're looking at right now. I'm not overly concerned. Maybe just some isolated damaging winds, isolated quarter-sized hail, maybe a tornado threat. Wind gusts behind this will be pretty high, by the way. I know there's going to be a severe weather threat for tomorrow, but wind gusts are going to be high behind this low pressure system. We are talking upwards of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts behind the low pressure system. Notice here in Illinois, we'll be talking about wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour overnight Friday into Saturday morning. That is a big concern for those trampolines and again, all that sort of stuff. And as I mentioned before, trampoline meter is going to be probably going to gone forever tomorrow. We're probably going to have to upgrade this to gone forever because I honestly think that the trampoline risk of them flying and whatnot is going to be at a bit more of a maximum tomorrow in comparison to what we've seen recently. So make sure that you are securing your trampolines and hatching those down. And also, there is a threat for a winter storm. I know, what am I talking about? How's there a winter storm after all this severe weather? It is complete madness. But there is currently winter storm watches in effect for those in Minnesota back through the upper Michigan Peninsula. In addition to this, there are blizzard warnings. I know, right? What? Yeah, there are blizzard warnings in effect for South Dakota. A lot of that, though, is just from the blowing snow that we'll see. Not a whole lot of snow accumulation for the most part. It's going to be mostly just a few inches. But throughout this area, going into Friday afternoon and evening, that is when snow will start to ramp up across the Twin Cities, back through the upper Michigan Peninsula, and going into the overnight hours, some snow will continue to move through those areas. I wouldn't be shocked if you're in Chicago, you see a few flurries going into Saturday morning, or maybe closer to lunchtime, but not really a whole lot of accumulation there. In terms of snowfall accumulation, just an estimate, snowfall totals could get upwards of maybe 6 to 12 inches. I think this is a little bit high on the estimates, but again, this area will probably be in the ballpark for 6 to 12 inches of snow. If not, there might be some areas that closer to 2 feet of snow if they are able to see enough of that heavy snow with this system. Wind gusts back up in the Midwest. As I mentioned before, winds behind this low pressure system will be very strong, all coming out of the west and as well as the north, and these will be producing wind gusts upwards of 40 to 60 miles per hour. And again, make sure that you will secure your trash cans and whatnot. By the way, for those on Tuesday, there is actually an enhanced risk of severe weather that has already been issued. I am not going to talk about this hardly at all in this live stream, mainly because tomorrow is a lot more concerning, and this can change a lot this far out. So I'm not too concerned right now for this, but make sure that you're aware of this next Tuesday. Mark that in your calendar. There's going to be a threat for severe weather then. All right, that is the entire slideshow, 22 minutes. That was a lot. I need to take a little quick breathing break here. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be getting to some of those here in a second. I forgot Missouri for timing. Thank you. Let me go back over to that real quick. For those in Missouri, my bad. I don't know how I missed that. Again, a lot of things were happening before the live stream, a lot of technical difficulties. For those in Missouri, here's your timing. So we'll be watching for some convection around the late morning around Columbia near Kansas City. By the afternoon, a lot of the storm activity that will have the tornado threat will be here. This is where I would think that there will be a bit more of those rotating supercells. So make sure that you have a plan in place. St. Louis, by the way, be on guard. There might be a couple of storms near your location. Will they directly hit you? There's a chance, but obviously it's, it's kind of up in the air. I would say about a 40 to 50% chance that St. Louis gets a severe storm tomorrow, or at least a storm tomorrow. Whether that's severe is kind of up in the air, but I would expect at least some sort of storm activity near St. Louis. But this is where I think the tornado threat will be a little bit higher. We'll probably be in this region here, so near Carbondale back through St. Louis, so really between about 12 to 5 o'clock. And eventually this will turn into a line of storms by about 6 to 7. So if you're in St. Louis, you are not in the clear until about 8 to 9 o'clock. So if you have any plans through 8 o'clock, make sure that you're aware and keeping a close eye to the sky, because that will definitely be something to watch for there for sure. All right. Let me get to some questions, comments, concerns. Thank you, everybody, for saying I forgot Missouri. I don't know how I forgot that. Real quickly, let me change this. Let me just make this Just so I don't get a ton of spamming questions, I'm going to change the delay for 10 seconds so I can read questions. Also, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below if you're new to the channel. Also, make sure to like the live stream. It is free to do. And, yeah. Let me go over to... Yeah, let's stay on this. I forgot Arkansas. I did not forget Arkansas. But I will go back over that. I'll go back over timing here in a few minutes. If I went in depth for every single city, I would be here for 5 hours. So I can't go in depth on every single city. But for Tennessee, for those near Nashville, let's go back over to that. I have so many tabs open. All right, this is for those in the Tennessee area and also Kentucky. This is a pretty large area. I know a lot of you that are watching are probably somewhere in the Midwest, the Mississippi Valley, somewhere. But this is a pretty large area for those over in Nashville. Some early morning convection. Severe storms will not arrive until probably near sunset tomorrow. There will probably be a few storms in your location arriving between 8 to 1 o'clock. That's 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. when you might see some severe storms near Nashville. Storms primarily going to produce more of a damaging wind threat, but there might be an isolated tornado or two. And I honestly would not rule out a little bit of quarter-sized hail. The hail threat overall tomorrow is not that concerning. Really, the damaging wind potential is the much higher threat, and along with the threat for maybe a little bit of a few tornadoes will also be the threat. Honestly, the hail threat does not stick out to me a whole lot with this event. Even though there might be some hail out of those initial supercells, I'm not too concerned. By the way, there is a severe thunderstorm warning ongoing in Nebraska right now. Just a little heads up. South of O'Neill, Nebraska. Ping pong ball sized hail. I'm not going to really talk about that a whole lot because it's pretty isolated. But just a little heads up for those over there. Oh, by the way, for those that watch my streams and all that pretty often, my office chair broke yesterday. So I have a very uncomfortable chair. Does not help by any means for me. So I have to get another office chair. And yeah, $200 out the door. And I've had the chair for like 3 months. So pretty solid. And the reason why it's breaking, by the way, is because the screws in the chair on the back snapped. Like literally, and the screws are stuck in those holes that they go into. So yeah, it's pretty great stuff. So I will not, by the way, for those that are wondering, I'm probably not going to be live tomorrow. One reason why is because my office chair is just like literally I cannot sit in this, like so uncomfortable. I wish if I was at my actual studio, which I'm not, I would be able to like stand and all that. I actually have a chair there, but unfortunately I'm not there. So yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. I have to get a new office chair, but I also have stuff going on until about 8 o'clock tomorrow. So I will probably not be able to do much for live streaming. I might be able to go live later tomorrow, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to go live though. That is why, one reason why I'm live right now. Give you some idea of what's happening. Where's everybody from, by the way, in the chat? Curious. Where's everybody from? The general idea of where everybody's kind of from here. Let's go back over to the, significant tornado parameter here. And the most recent HRR model run just came in, and it's kind of indicating, again, the tornado threat will probably be a bit higher across maybe even central Illinois. This might be an area to watch for during the evening. Again, it's spitting out values upwards of 5 to 6. That's definitely pretty concerning. This is a sounding, by the way, for those that are, let me see if I can get this on the screen here. This is a little bit better review of the sounding. A weather sounding basically just gives us an idea of temperature, dew point, and also all the ingredients in the atmosphere that are going to equivalent to maybe a tornado threat and that sort of thing. The temperature and dew point pretty close together. Here's your instability, by the way. We have plenty of instability in here. That's the Cape. Pretty specific stuff here. Also, the tornado potential does exist with a storm like this that would be closer to like central Illinois. Again, that does not guarantee a tornado threat. It literally says possible hazard type. That means that there's a potential for a tornado in that region. That's again kind of in central Illinois. This is a bit more of a concerning area in my opinion for maybe a tornado threat tomorrow. Things will change a little bit as we get closer, not drastically. This is the, let's go to the updraft helicity. This gives us an idea of where the tornadoes will be a bit more centered at. And yeah, I mean, it's changed a decent amount. The most recent HRR model run, interestingly enough, is kind of indicating a bit more of a tornado potential here in central Illinois. So again, make sure you have a safety plan in place if you're anywhere across the Midwest or Ohio Valley, or even into the Mississippi Valley as well. Let me go back over to this slide here. This is the current tornado threat. Right here. I don't think I didn't line that up correctly. But this is the current tornado threat. Oh, actually, I can go back to this one. There we go. Let's see. All right, so here's the current tornado threat, and the circle there is where the most recent, I didn't mean to hit my mic. That area there that I've circled, though, is probably going to have a bit more of a tornado threat than what it is right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this hatched area, 10% probability, does shift a little bit here to the east and a bit more to the south. I wouldn't even honestly rule out that this goes and kind of extends through this area. I honestly wouldn't rule that out by any means at this point. And with what we've seen from the data, at least the most recent model runs and whatnot, is showing a bit more rotation potentially in some of these supercells across this region, which would include St. Louis as well. We'll have to watch this area closely. I mean, this has kind of become a bit more of a concerning area, though. I know there's two specific areas where the tornado threat is, and as well as the damaging wind threat, but at least an enhanced risk of a tornado risk may get extended a bit further down here to the south, and maybe even back here to the east as well. I wouldn't rule that out at this point, because the latest model runs, again, are showing pretty hefty signs maybe of some more rotating supercells in that region as well. Thank you, Mama Brew, by the way, for the 199 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Sure I didn't miss anything else here. All right, I didn't. Cool. Do you think Southern Illinois will go into the 15% tornado risk? Yeah, I honestly, I wouldn't rule it out. And the main reason why, again, when we look at the latest computer model runs, let's go back over to here. It's not all about computer models, but it tells us a lot about what's going to happen tomorrow. Here's the significant tornado parameter values, and we can match this up with the low-level jet. But this kind of helps simplify things down. I could show you the low-level jet, the low-level winds, and just all sorts of different things that might equivalent to it, as well as the buoyancy, dew point. But I want to kind of keep it simple with just the tornado parameter. It gives you really everything in one model here. And once we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening, you can again see the tornado parameter values, really where we're watching for that tornado threat is here. That is the area. I know there's values out in front of it that are indicating like red and whatnot. We're probably not going to see a whole lot of severe weather, at least in terms of the threat bit here, like out here to the east. We're not going to see a whole lot of a severe weather at this given time, which is about 5 to 6 o'clock central. And really, we're going to have two areas of storms, one of which here is really the biggest concern. That'll be our line of storms. We'll also have a few discrete supercells out in front of that. That is also where we could see a tornado threat really unravel. And you might notice here some of these little dots popping up around 4 to 5. That is, again, a medium to maybe even a bit more like a medium to high-end potential tornado threat here with any of these supercells that you end up developing and becoming discrete. This will be a bit more of a concerning area as well. But again, Southern Illinois is kind of in that area that I wouldn't rule out an increased tornado risk from the Storm Prediction Center. Maybe up to 10%. I don't think it goes too much higher than that if you're in Southern Illinois, because the current tornado risk, let's go back to that, is right here. So yeah, again, right now it's a 10% hatched area. I wouldn't rule out that this again goes to maybe a 10% risk area across this entire area. So we can go ahead and just kind of, you know, shade this all in or whatever. I mean, that's definitely possible. It's not out of the question that this goes to a 10% risk. I don't think it goes to 15%. The difference, though, isn't really that much. You should be prepared for a tornado risk anyways. If you are a storm chaser, I still think areas maybe in central or western Illinois will have the best success, or maybe in northeastern Arkansas near the Mississippi River. Those are the kind of the two areas that I kind of have outlined for a bit more of a higher tornado risk, almost guaranteed that you'll at least see something over that direction in terms of maybe some of those rotating supercells and whatnot. Thank you for the $5 super chat from Jeremiah. Northern Indiana and Southern Michigan times. Thank you. I actually have not gone over Michigan, but Michigan should be kind of on the lower end anyways. Let me find the timing graphic for that. I have so many tabs open. I'll have to show you how many tabs I have open. It's pretty wild. All right, let's go back over to here. All right, so here's your timing for those kind of on the border here. Timing's going to primarily be after Kim with the $100 super chat. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate that. I do not need, I appreciate it. I do have to get a new office chair because I'm literally using, I'm using an office chair, but it's like provided by my college and it is, you know, it's horrendous. I'm not gonna lie. So it has like no back support at all. But I really do appreciate the $100 super chat from Kim. Let's get some claps in the chat. That is so generous. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you very much. All right, let's go back through the timing here real quick. Again, for those in northern Indiana and southern Illinois, there will be some convection during the afternoon and evening. You might notice actually up here near Portage and Jackson, there is going to be some of the storm activity that actually could be severe in nature, but it's going to be a lot of convection. I mean, like literally 80 to 90% of this area here in southern Michigan will probably see some sort of rain going on at this time. There will be a threat for severe weather with that line of storms between about 8 to 12 o'clock tomorrow night. That is when we might see a weakening line of storms bring some damaging wind gusts. I would expect the highest of those wind gusts to be in here on the western side of the state. So if you're in South Bend, once that line of storms crosses over the Great Lakes, that is where the biggest concern I think is for damaging winds. Now, in terms of the tornado threat, I still think it's going to be a bit lower over here into Michigan, but there is obviously I would say a low-end threat for maybe an isolated tornado if you're back over here near Portage or South Bend. This will be a bit more of a concerning area, though, if you're right along the border there of Indiana and as well as Michigan. But a lot of rain for sure. You'll definitely see rain tomorrow. That's without a doubt. But severe weather is a little bit of a lower risk, I would say. Further west you go, though, the higher risk it'll be there in Michigan. So if you're right along the Great Lakes, that's where we're looking for some severe weather. Thank you again for the $5. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Kim. I really do appreciate it. You're very generous. Thank you. Thank you, Mystic, for the 7 months as a storm chaser member. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to leave those in the chat. I'll be going over, again, a lot. I'm going to try to go over as many as possible here, so. By the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe to the page, like the video. It's free to do. And we'll be keeping you updated with the latest weather forecasts and live streams here on the YouTube channel. And also, by the way, for those that have been tuning into the latest videos, I really do appreciate all the support. We've gotten over 40,000 views, I think, on the last like 4 forecasts. It's actually crazy. I can't even believe it. One of my forecasts recently got 100,000 views. I literally was actually like shocked. It's kind of funny for those that are new to the page. I literally have been doing this for like 4 years, and I never really cared, or I still don't really care that much about how many views or subscribers I have. I really could care less. But it's kind of crazy. Like, this page is kind of just blown up, and I don't know why, but it has. But I really do appreciate everybody's support. You know, it's crazy. I love doing it. I really do. And the reason why I've been doing it for 4 years is because I love to do it. Love making weather forecasts, especially nationwide weather forecasts. It's honestly, you know, this YouTube channel for about 3 years. We're actually, what's today, the 30th? We're coming up about on the almost the 1 year anniversary of this page being nationwide. And before it was nationwide, it was just North Texas weather. I was doing that for 3 years, and I still do it on Facebook, but on YouTube here, we're doing nationwide. So pretty crazy stuff. How's it going, Shelly? Yes, I am nationwide, and I'm on your side. Thank you. If anybody gets the joke, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Richard, for the $9.99. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Thanks, Planet. I appreciate it. Planet's one of the OGs, I think. I can't remember. I think you're probably back from last summer. Southern Illinois does not need any more tornadoes. Yeah, Southern Illinois, again, when we go to the tornado parameter, which I'm going to kind of use the tornado parameter a lot. I don't want to go through the low-level jet and all this other stuff a ton. Actually, I kind of want to go through it now. Let me go to the low-level jet real quick. It's kind of interesting because when we look at the low-level jet on Friday, this gives us a bit more of an idea of where the rotating supercells will be. And across Illinois, again, when we go into Friday afternoon and evening, the HRR model has been spitting out some pretty crazy values. Actually, let's go to the most recent model run here. So this is tomorrow, and again, the HRR model is indicating some pretty high winds in the lower levels. This will again help to rotate some of these supercells across anywhere in the yellow shaded area. That is where that highest tornado threat will likely lie. And as well as back near that hatched area and back over in Iowa, as well as western Illinois, there might be a bit of a tornado threat there as well. I know it's 15% right now. I think that might shift a bit further down to the south and east, though. I wouldn't rule that out. But back over here is definitely a concern because the low-level jet, again, will be around 50 to 75 knots. Could even peak near 80 knots. And that's going to, again, create rotating supercells across the Midwest and back through the Mississippi Valley here. So we're going to have to really watch this area pretty closely. Even closer to 6 to 7 o'clock, still pretty strong. And where the severe storms will be at this exact time is pretty much right here, and that's where we have a bigger concern here. Again, low-level jet around 85 knots. I have not seen values that high in quite a while, so definitely a concerning feature for tomorrow will be the low-level jet, because again, that helps to rotate these supercells. And yeah, again, tomorrow is going to be really busy for sure. And again, if you're in the path of these storms, I highly recommend you have multiple ways to receive alerts. I cannot urge that enough. Have multiple ways. Do not just use YouTube. Do not just watch one person on YouTube and hope that you get your warning there. Literally download a phone app. It's super easy. The Weather Channel, AccuWeather, whatever you want to download, it doesn't matter. Just download a weather app, turn on your location settings so you actually get the notifications as well. You know, don't rely on sirens. Maybe have a weather radio if you have one. Make sure to turn that on and make sure it's working. Do all that sort of stuff tonight. Don't wait until tomorrow because, you know, you want to make sure that you're ready for severe weather. Especially since tomorrow, again, will be very active. I mean, we're talking about the threat for maybe a very dangerous outbreak. I mean, this is almost like a once-in-a-decade type event. And I mentioned this in my video today. I said, this is kind of like a once-in-a-decade type severe weather event. I didn't mean that this happens once every 10 years. It's just one of these sort of events that doesn't happen, you know, every 1 or 2 years. And this is like a specific setup that only happens like once every 10 years. That's what I meant by that. I mean, we see moderate risks pretty often. I mean, they happen about 3 to 4 times at least a year. This is, again, probably going to be one of those situations, though, that we've not seen a setup like this in about, I mean, it's at least been about 3 to 4 years at least. It might have been longer than that. So we've seen a setup kind of like this. We're going to see really a hefty tornado threat, and as well as maybe that damaging wind threat being pretty significant. I mean, we could be talking about a threat for maybe some widespread damaging winds here throughout central Illinois tomorrow. And I wouldn't rule out that there's a high risk of severe weather, maybe in central Illinois, but I still don't think we get there. We could, I don't know. But I'm not the Storm Prediction Center, but I don't think it's going to be a large enough area for a high risk. I definitely think a moderate risk will be extended, though, here into central Illinois tomorrow, because the current threat of severe weather is, let's go back to the current threat. Let me find wherever that is. I'd have to put up a closer view. So this is where that current moderate risk of severe weather is. Let's zoom in here, and let me make sure this is on the screen. It is not perfectly on the screen. Let me, there we go. So yeah, back up here in the north, the moderate risk is currently here. I think, again, this is not what, you know, is definitely going to happen, but I think that this area either extends further down here to the south and east, or it shifts entirely just down into here. I think that the significant damaging wind threat and hail threat are a bit higher down here in central Illinois, but we'll see what happens. Again, we're still a few hours away from the next update. I think we are, let's see how many minutes we are. We are about 2-3 hours. We're about 3 hours away from the next Storm Prediction Center update. So I think that this area, though, will probably get upgraded to some sort of threat, maybe a moderate risk of severe weather there. So we'll have to watch this area pretty closely, but we'll see. All right, missing super chats. I never get this many super chats. Thank you, West, for the $20 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate your generosity. Thank you, Isle, as well, of Fire, for $10 as well. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And as well as Mama Brew for the $19.99, chipping in on the chair. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Yeah, I gotta get a new office chair. Again, I would be live all day probably tomorrow, but I'm not even kidding. This office chair is so uncomfortable. I'm already uncomfortable right now. So, and it's like a cheap one. I doubt it's any more than like $30. So I gotta get a new office chair. And hopefully once I get that, I can do some of these longer live streams. But I'm also in college, so it makes it 5 times harder to do any long live streams anyways. In May, June, July, August, I plan on doing longer live streams anyways and going live for almost every weather event because I will have a lot less to do then, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below. Again, we are we're now on the road. We're almost at 37,500 subscribers, so if you've not already, make sure to subscribe and like the stream if you're enjoying the weather forecast so far. And also, if you have any questions about tomorrow, feel free to leave those in the chat. We're talking about a lot here. I'll probably be live here for a while since we have a lot of questions anyways. Gotta do Wisconsin again. Actually, I have not gone over Wisconsin timing. I don't think I have, at least. Let me go to there. I do not want to switch this tab out. Let's switch out this tab here. All right, here's Wisconsin. Again, I don't expect a whole lot of severe weather here, but look at the bottom of your screen. I might have to zoom this down just a little bit. Let me just zoom this down. Timestamp is at the top left of your screen. Here's the when you might see some severe weather. It's probably gonna be between 4 to maybe 9 o'clock or so. You notice here down there, possibly a couple of severe storms. I would expect more of a hail threat out of these, but there might be some damaging winds. Maybe a brief tornado out of one of those storms near Madison or Janesville, but it's probably gonna be a pretty low end threat. So for those in Wisconsin, I would not panic. Again, I wouldn't panic anywhere. I would really just recommend that you have multiple ways to receive warnings, alerts. Take the proper precautions tonight. Again, I've mentioned this a lot, but our trampoline risk is off the charts tomorrow. We're talking about an extreme risk of flying trampolines. I would not be surprised if this gets upgraded to Gone Forever. I'm probably going to upgrade this to Gone Forever anyways, because flying trampolines happen a lot with widespread winds upwards of 40 to 70 miles per hour. Even without thunderstorms, we are talking about wind gusts exceeding 40 miles per hour in a ton of areas. And I mean, we do not want to see sights like this tomorrow. I mean, I actually had a viewer, I think that watches my YouTube channel. This is actually from Illinois. I don't know if you're here, but one of my viewers sent this in, and that's literally on top of a power pole. So we do not want to see that tomorrow. Make sure you hatch down your trampolines, because we do not need that tomorrow at all. And we had that the other week. And again, I made this trampoline meter literally 2 weeks ago. I'm not even kidding. 2 weeks ago, I made this. After the DFW widespread damaging wind event, I got over 300 messages on my North Texas page on Facebook with photos of trampolines all over the place. I'm not even kidding. They were on power poles. They were on homes. They were literally on homes. I just showed you this. This is literally from North Texas. Almost every one of these are from North Texas. This is on top of a home. This is at a pool. This is on top of some pole of some sort. This is on top of a very tall power pole. I don't know how that even gets up there. And then also right here, this is just a completely destroyed trampoline. So again, there's a reason why I made the graphic. It actually happens with these events. So little story behind it. Thank you, the Michigan man, for the $10 super chat. Gonna be driving through northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin tomorrow. What are the chances of me seeing a tornado? Northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Let's see. I mean, it depends on when you're going, first off. I mean, if you're going on a road trip of some sort, it obviously will depend on your timing. But it also depends what road you're taking. Can you give me some specifics here? Just put them in the chat. I'll try to see if I can find your message. Thank you, Kale Dude, as well, for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate it. Cecilia, I don't think it came through. It usually showed a notification in the chat. You might have to do it again. Every time you mention the trampoline, I get it. Honestly, I know a lot of people think the trampoline meter is funny, and I totally understand. Literally, I do. But it's actually a real thing. There's a reason why I made the graphic. This is actually, I made the graphic primarily for my North Texas page on Facebook. But no, it's actually a real thing. I mean, this actually does happen with these events. We're talking about, you know, trampolines potentially flying. Literally. With the wind gusts that we're going to see, if we go over to, let's find this graphic here. I have it somewhere. The wind gusts across like the Midwest and Ohio Valley are, without severe storms in question, overnight Friday into Saturday, we're talking about wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour behind this low pressure system. This could cause flying trampolines. I'm not even kidding. I mean, wind gusts at least at 40 miles per hour is typically when trampolines start to shift if they are unhatched and whatnot, because winds pick them up and basically can, again, send them flying. So, same thing with trash cans, by the way. We do have a trash can meter here on max velocity. I need to pull it up. We do have a trash can meter, though. Let me find my file here. Let's see. I have it somewhere. Trash can meter. So for the trash can meter for tomorrow, I don't know if I have a graphic that actually, yeah, I don't have it, but this is currently the trash can wind meter. Let's try to zoom this out a little bit. Here we go. That's the trash can wind meter. It actually is at a gone forever stage tomorrow. I just don't, for some reason, have a graphic of that because I've never had that. But if you have any empty trash cans, they're going to go flying tomorrow, especially with severe weather. So, again, make sure that you take those take the trash cans in. Again, this is another graphic that I've made, and yeah. I have a lot of interesting graphics. That is not the only one. If you're really curious, while we have a second, this is another graphic that I have. The jacket meter. Honestly, we're not really talking about much of a jacket meter here in the Midwest, but you know, it's kind of funny. Dress up as Bernie. If you know the meme, you know it. But yeah, we have a lot of interesting graphics. I don't ever use them on YouTube. I never do. I should probably use them a bit more often. I've been using the trampoline meter though in the forecast recently. Thanks, James. I appreciate it. Have a good night. The NAM 3K just came out. I don't really trust the NAM 3K much. I really don't. I never use it because I just feel like it's so whack. Thank you, by the way, Dude, for the 99 cents. Appreciate it. All right, this is the NAM model. I haven't really looked at this a whole lot. That is interesting. Again, I don't like the NAM model that much. I don't think it's really ever accurate. I've used it before. It doesn't really ever show much of. I mean, when it comes to reflectivity, at least, it's not usually that accurate. I mean, we could see a line of storms like this, but I don't think it'll be like this exactly. I think the HR model has been pretty. I don't know. It's been pretty spot on recently with a lot of these severe weather events. And with the setup that we have tomorrow, it should be pretty accurate. Again, it's not going to be pitch perfect. I mean, we're not going to definitely see a line of storms here, or at least a small cluster of storms exactly in that location. It could be further north. It could be further south. It might even be split up. You never know. But the general gist of the HRR model when it comes to reflectivity, in my opinion, has been pretty, accurate. I think it's been pretty accurate, especially for every forecast that I've ever had. It's been... The only times it's wrong usually, or at least entirely wrong when I mean that, is when there's a cap. And we don't have really much of a cap tomorrow. This is the soundings. Let's go over to here. And there is a small cap, most likely late tomorrow morning across Illinois, but it's probably not going to be much. This is like a very small temperature inversion here in the atmosphere. And again, this is the temperatures increasing as we go into the atmosphere and whatnot. Again, you might not have a clue what I'm looking at, but basically there might be a small cap in place. What that essentially is the small temperature inversion, which basically allow or disallows from clouds to build up past it. So let me draw a little diagram here. So let's say we're at the surface. Here's you. Hi, how you doing? That's you right there. And this is the clouds that are building right here. They're building up. But the problem is there is a cap. That means the temperature is warming. That prevents clouds from lifting any further. So the clouds basically get stopped in this little small area here. But once that cap is gone, those clouds will build up basically until the equilibrium level, which is typically around 50,000 feet with an event like this tomorrow. So, yeah. All right. And you might have no clue what I'm talking about, but that's a good explanation. I have videos on the cap actually on my YouTube channel under the tutorials playlist, if you ever have any interest in that. But I get kind of geeky sometimes with that sort of stuff. Thank you, by the way, Cody, for the 99 cents as well. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Central Indiana, tornado threat's low. Yeah, it should be pretty low. The only threat with any sort of tornado activity in Indiana would probably be embedded in that line of storms, unless one of these like small discrete cells live long enough, but I don't think they will. It would be in like an embedded brief or weak tornado in this line of storms here. So you might get something like that, but overall, again, threat's low. And for anybody, I literally mean this. I try to say this as much as possible. I do not post forecasts to panic you by any means. I literally post them to make sure that you're prepared for stuff. Do not panic. There's literally no reason to panic with something like this. Just have ways to receive alerts, take the proper precautions, and have a tornado plan in place, or tornado safety plan in place. That is what you need to do tonight. Don't panic, though. There's literally no reason to panic. You don't have to, you know, stay home all day because there's a big event. But make sure you have a plan in place. If you're in a mobile home, by the way, or a mobile home, make sure that you have a place to get to shelter tomorrow in case there are any warnings, and have that plan now in place in advance. Also, if you're in an apartment building, you know, make sure you make friends with somebody on the first floor. Even though you might not like anybody in your apartment, it's probably a good idea to at least know somebody that you can at least go down to the bottom floor for if there's any sort of tornado warning or whatnot. So, yeah. Thank you again, as well as Dazzy for the 199. Thoughts on Logan County, Kentucky tomorrow? I have zero clue where Logan County is. Let me find that. 1 second. Let me also go over to that graphic here, wherever it is. All right, let's find Logan County here on Google. Google is your friend when it comes to locations, especially counties. Logan County. Oh, there's a Logan County, Ohio. Learn something new every day. Oh, that's by Bowling Green. That's not showing up on my map. That's southwestern. All right, so for you down in Logan County, that is back down into the southwest. So timing for tomorrow, a little bit of early morning convection by the afternoon and evening. You might have a couple of severe storms down there. Timing roughly 6 to about 12 o'clock. Maybe even, yeah, that's probably a good timing. So yeah, between 6 to 12 o'clock. There might be a little small area storms behind it, but I would honestly think that large hail is probably a bit more of a concern there. Maybe some damaging wind gusts. So yeah, that's what we're probably looking at there in terms of the severe weather threat. So damaging wind's probably the main concern there. By the way, do you hear like a big like sound on my microphone at all? Like a big like rumble? Do you guys hear that at all? Or no? I just want to make sure because there's a lot of rumbling. Not from severe weather, but I think there's like a full-blown concert going on outside my window. Any tornadoes expected tonight in not Kansas City, Oklahoma City? No, not tonight. There is like a low threat. Let's go actually real quick. I do want to pull this up. Let's go to oh, real quick. Actually, I'm going to show you two things. So one, look at the top of your screen. That's all the tabs I've opened. It actually goes further over to the right, but my face cam blocks it. But let's go over to my software real quick. I do want to show you the ongoing stuff. We're not under, there's no tornado warnings. Let's go to this. We'll go back to the other graphics here in a second. I just want to show you guys that what's going on right now. So this is a look across the United States. There's some convection right now back over in southern Missouri as well as northern Arkansas. This is where we actually have some severe weather tonight. There's been a long-tracked hailstorm throughout Nebraska. It's actually been producing upwards of golf ball-sized hail at one point, 2-inch diameter hail also at one point back over in Valley County in Nebraska, even back through Burwell in Nebraska. There's been some hen egg-sized hail. Back up here, though, in just north of Plainview, that's where we actually have a storm still ongoing. This has been severe for quite a while. Still producing a threat for some half-dollar-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. This is a high-definition look at that storm, so you can see the hail core there. It's just to the southwest of Verdigris, maybe? And, yeah, that's what we're looking at there. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot tonight. For those in Oklahoma, there's actually a marginal risk of severe weather, at least from what I know. I don't know if that's changed. Let's see. Yeah, there's still a marginal threat, but severe weather not expected at this point. I would not expect severe weather tonight. And this is tomorrow as well. Actually, I can probably show you guys tomorrow as well in this Here you go. So this is tomorrow. It gives you another idea. Oklahoma City not in that threat tomorrow. This is a look at the moderate risk of severe weather for Jonesboro. A little bit of a closer look here for those over in western Tennessee, as well as back through northeastern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri. And again, the moderate risk up here, I think, will shift to the south and east. And I'll show you again more on that here in a second. But this is kind of where I think the moderate risk will probably shift a bit. But again, I'm not the Storm Prediction Center. I have no clue. They might shift it further to the south. They might also make this area huge and just connect the two red dots here and basically make it kind of in the middle here. But yeah, and it's kind of what I expect at this point. Again, this is basically a big D shape. That's literally what it is here, from Texas all the way back through Michigan. So that's what we're looking at there. I'm going to go back to here because there's a lot of stuff there that we can look at, but it's a little bit easier to look out in here. So what I was kind of mentioning with the extending the risk here back over in, let's go to here. So the overall risk for severe weather tomorrow, I think the moderate risk of severe weather will kind of shift into maybe here. That's where I think the moderate risk of severe weather shifts. I think that's going to shift a bit further down to the south. The tornado parameter values are a bit higher here. The low-level shear is also much higher down here to the south, just south there of Chicago and whatnot. I think the low-level jet is forecast to be higher here. So I think that the moderate risk will shift down here for damaging winds primarily, but a tornado risk will obviously exist here, potentially a bit higher. So that's where I think the moderate risk may go down to. I don't think there will be a high risk of severe weather, but you never say never. All right. Michigan Man with the $5 super chat. You didn't have to donate again. I apologize. I was trying to... There's a lot of messages, but roads I'm taking are I-90 in northern Illinois to Interstate 39 in Wisconsin. Interstate 90. I gotta figure out where that is. I think it's central, if I'm not mistaken. Interstate 90, Illinois. Let's see. If you didn't already realize, I am not from the Midwest. That's a good reason why. Oh, it's actually going west to east. Aren't all the 5s going south to north for interstates? Isn't that right? All right, so you're going through that, and that's going to be in northern. All right, so you're kind of taking like this route almost, it looks like. Kind of on the northern side. So like in here, I don't think you will probably see any tornadoes, unless maybe up here. There's like a low chance. It depends on when you go, but you might see a tornado threat potentially here. It's low though. It's not like high. It's kind of a bit more on the low side, I would say. Let me figure out what else you said here. Around 4 to 6 p.m. Yeah, so if you're in this area, there's definitely a chance maybe for a tornado if you run into that area of storms. Definitely not out of the question. Thank you again for the $15 super chat in total. I appreciate it. Friendly reminder, by the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below, like the stream. It's all free to do. Again, we do weather live streams and weather forecasts here all the time. We're only 18 subscribers from 37,400. Make sure to subscribe. It is free to do. I'm in the yellow spot. That's probably better news than anywhere else in here, honestly. I mean, if we go back over to, let's go over to here real quick. Thank you, Wes, for the $5 super chat as well. Driving from Evansville to Milwaukee on Saturday. Evansville to Milwaukee. Where is Evansville? There's a lot of Evansvilles, I think. Oh, that's down here. Never mind. It's on the map. There we go. No, there shouldn't be any concern. Wind gusts will be upwards of 40 to 60 Saturday morning, but otherwise, no concern for Saturday. The only concern that I have, let me show you guys this. So I do have a little bit of concern. All right, let me find this real quick. For Saturday. I just got to pull it up. One moment. Brief intermission trying to find this. So I do have a small bit of concern, but it's not like substantial. We're not talking about crazy stuff here. But there is going to be some crazy weather ahead. I know, it gets pretty crazy here. No, I mean, for those that are wondering, this is actually my April Fool's graphic that's going to be going up on Facebook on Saturday. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see this on Saturday. But April Fool's is only a couple days away. So I made this graphic while I was at it. 6,932 degrees on Monday. So yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I do some crazy stuff. If you're not following me on Facebook, I recommend it. If you have Facebook, it's pretty crazy on there. It's a lot of weird stuff. But it's North Texas weather, so funny stuff. Little Rock, Arkansas, any tornado threat? Tornado threat down in Arkansas is a little bit higher if you're further to the north and east. Let's go down to Arkansas here. I don't have any graphics anymore for Arkansas. Let's go down here. So for Arkansas specifically, there is a threat for an isolated tornado threat near Little Rock. The threat is much higher though the further north and east you go, and really in this area is kind of my bigger concern. So Little Rock is kind of in that area that I have a bit of concern about. The timing will probably be sometime between 12 to 5 o'clock or so across this region. So make sure that you are again prepared for a tornado threat. Have that tornado action plan in place. No reason again to panic or be nervous about this. If you have a plan in place, you'll be good. Everything moves out of Little Rock by 5 o'clock. So it's going to be kind of between about 11 to 12 until about 4 to 5 o'clock. But I would expect the greater tornado threat to probably be somewhere in here. That's kind of the region here. Might go a bit further down to the south. This is the tornado parameter values. Let's actually pull that up down here. I haven't actually gone this far to the south with tornado parameter values, I don't think. Or maybe I have. I can't remember. Let's go to the tornado parameter. And this helps us estimate what the tornado threat will be tomorrow in certain areas. And you might notice 2 to 3, that's kind of on the low to medium end of a tornado threat, so it's not overly high. I still think the tornado threat is going to be higher across Illinois. I really think that the moderate risk of severe weather is probably going to shift into Illinois, especially for the central part of the state. So we'll see what happens with the Storm Prediction Center, what they say at 1 a.m. or whatever it is, maybe 2 a.m. But yeah, I think that moderate risk shifts a bit further down to the south and east. There will be a threat for a few tornadoes. The greater threat, though, is going to probably be in here for a tornado risk. When it comes to those a bit further to the south on the southern spectrum of this tornado or this severe weather event. Up here to the north, there's obviously a threat for a tornado threat, but I'm talking about the other moderate risk of severe weather that we have. This will probably be the main area. There might be a couple of tornadoes, though, down here, anywhere across Arkansas, really primarily around Little Rock and to the east. So that's what we're looking at there. Thank you for the $10 super chat from Joshua. Madison, Wisconsin, tornado risk for Friday. I would say it's low. I'm not too confident about much of any tornado risk there. And if we go to the tornado parameter up in the Midwest, which I actually have not done yet, this is a look at that tornado parameter. Not overly impressive. There might be an isolated tornado, but I think it'll stay to the south and west of Madison. So if there is any tornadoes, we're getting really specific here, but if there were to be any tornado threat, it will probably be down in this area here, just kind of the south and west of Wisconsin or Madison. But again, it's low. And the big reason why, by the way, for those that are wondering, why is there such a sharp cutoff right here with the tornado parameter? Main reason why is because the moisture just completely falls off here. Look at this. I mean, this is where the dew points basically are capped, and this is where we're looking at the low pressure system here. This is kind of a front here, and then what we're looking at is where that dew points get capped off. You can see dew points in the 30s north of the warm front and down into the south of there. Dew points are in the 50s. That's going to create some buoyancy. That could lead to a couple of severe storms. And right near that low pressure system, the dew points are in the low 60s. That will create just enough buoyancy for maybe an isolated tornado along with some damaging winds. So definitely a little bit of a concerning feature there back closer just west of Chicago. Thank you for the $4.99 from Indiana. Indianapolis going to see any severe weather. You might see some damaging winds. That's my main concern. Isolated tornado threat does exist, though, in Indiana. Also, here are the temperatures, by the way, for those that are wondering. You can see this is your warm front. It's pretty impressive, by the way. Yeah, 43 degrees near Milwaukee, but if you go just to the south, you're going to be in the low 60s and humid, by the way. So there's a pretty sharp difference there. That is your warm frontal boundary. And what that's going to allow, again, is more shear is going to be available up here closer to Illinois, where that warm front is, which will, again, to create that potential for some severe weather. If we go back to the dew points, again, this is kind of where that maximum area of severe weather will be, or not maximum. I mean, in terms of where the severe weather cutoff line is, this is literally the line. So if you're north of this line, you are not going to probably see any severe storms unless something drastically changes with this low pressure system. But notice the dew points. They do not increase to the north. They just decrease, or at least stay constant. So again, it's a pretty sharp line here. It doesn't really go further off to the north. It's pretty interesting, though, for sure. So yeah. And eventually you can see that little twirl, by the way, that little twirl on this low pressure system. Kind of cool. A little twirl in the dew points. And then northerly wind or southerly winds back over to the east. So yeah, interesting stuff. I missed another super chat. Let me figure out where that is. Thank you, Jay, for the $5 super chat. I'm glad you liked the graphic. Thank you. I have a lot of interesting weather graphics. They're interesting. If you're just tuning in, by the way, again, we are on currently an extreme risk for some trampolines flying tomorrow. Make sure you take down those trampolines, or at least, patch them down as much as you can. Because again, we've seen with 60 to 80 mile per hour damaging winds out of severe storms, trampolines go flying, and you do not want your trampoline to look like this or this or this. I mean, you just don't. So make sure that you are securing trampolines. Gone Forever stage is likely going to be for tomorrow, but I have an extreme right now. I have not made a thing for the Gone Forever stage yet. I don't know why, but trampolines are going to go crazy. You need the Gone Forever? Let me do that real quick, actually. Let me, I don't, the only problem is with the Gone Forever, I didn't make a text color for it on Photoshop. So let me do that real quick. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe down below. Again, we do weather forecasts on YouTube all the time. And we also go live all the time as well, so make sure to subscribe. You're not going to miss any of the latest weather information. I don't even know what color to make this. I already have a pink. Do I go to, like, purple? Let's go to purple. That looks awful, but work in progress for the trampoline flying things. Gone Forever. It's not really that good of a color there, but you get the gist. Again, that's what it's gonna be probably for tomorrow, though. If you have any trampolines that are unhatched, they're gonna probably go flying and gone away from your home. So make sure that you take your trampolines down, please. We do not need more flying trampolines. Thank you, that Memphis kid, for the $5 super chat. How is it looking for Memphis, Tennessee? Memphis, Tennessee. Let's go down to there. Let me go over to the timing. I have another graphic somewhere. All right, here we go. Memphis timing. It's actually kind of hard to do this because we're not really. I don't know if we have a good view of this with these. All right, here. This is probably your best view. Let me make sure it's on the screen here. Yeah, it is. All right. So timing for you will probably be just after 4 o'clock. This is currently the HR model estimating storms are going to probably arrive somewhere between about 4 to 8 o'clock. Storms will be done after 8 o'clock. Damaging winds and as well as a tornado threat will be the main concerns. Now, the HRR model does have you kind of split in between 2 different areas of supercells. And again, this is just a computer model. It does not mean that this is exactly going to happen because it obviously never exactly happens like this. But we very well could potentially see a storm impact Memphis. So just make sure that you are prepared for any severe weather and have your tornado action plan in place. That is really important. Again, if you've not already, go over your tornado action plan tonight, like right now. Do it right now. Do it with your family, friends, whoever. Do it with your dog. You know, make sure that you have a plan in place. If you have any fish as well, maybe a fish tank, make sure to tell them, hey, there might be a tornado tomorrow, so I don't know. Just go tell them, hey, you can come with me. Don't worry. You can I don't even know where I'm going with the fish thing, but yeah, you get the point. Yeah, just have a tornado action plan in place. You'll be fine tomorrow as long as you have that. Interior room of your home or building, away from windows. A bathroom is preferable if you're in an interior room with no windows. If you don't have a room without windows, the best place usually is a bathroom or a closet or something like that, but usually a bathroom is the safest place. And a tub of some sort, that is really the preferable area. If you're in an apartment building on the 2nd floor, this is your 2nd floor here, this is your 1st floor, and you say, hi, let's go down to the 1st floor and talk to my neighbor that I don't know. Hey, can I go into your apartment tomorrow if there's a tornado? They say yes. All right, great. That's your place for tomorrow, and kind of sketch that out tonight. And again, do that tonight. Don't do that tomorrow, like last second, because that's very dangerous. And in addition to that, if you're in a mobile home, have a shelter in mind for tomorrow if there's any tornado risk. And again, do that ahead of time, and leave ahead of time too if you're able to, because that's always a good thing, especially with mobile homes. They do take a lot of damage from even just damaging winds, and as well as even a weak tornado. It does a lot to those mobile homes. I keep saying mobile homes. I don't know why. I meant to say mobile homes, you know. Prime time for tornadoes will be between 4 to about 8 o'clock. 4 to 8 is the prime time for tornadoes. But again, it depends on where you are. If you're over in like Missouri, for example, you might see a tornado threat slightly earlier than that, but 4 to 8 is probably going to be the main time frame. Thank you, Memphis, for another $10 super chat. That model looks a lot better than it did for Memphis. Yeah, again, I mean, let's just show you why not. Let's go to Arkansas real quick. I lost Arkansas again. I have lost Arkansas. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. All right. This is the 18Z model run 6 hours ago from the HR model. And it shows it pretty much right over top of Memphis. So, again, and you can see even here by 10 o'clock, there might be a storm there as well. So, again, models are going to be changing a lot, especially with reflectivity. Don't ever take these specifically, like exactly how they are, because they always change. I mean, let's just take, for example, here. Let's say you're in this little place here, and you're thinking, oh, the storms are going around me. on the computer models. That means I'm not going to see severe weather or any storms tomorrow. That is entirely false. I mean, like, literally, computer models are giving their best estimate, but things change. I mean, we very well could see a supercell here instead of here. Again, they vary a lot. So don't take the timing with a grain of salt when it comes to the very specifics of the locations. Just get the general timing down. That's really the biggest thing. So if you're in that area, I mean, before 5 o'clock is your best chance for storms. But yeah, again, never take that specific model run for timing. I mean, we could even go to this like most recent or another different model run. This actually doesn't go far off enough, so never mind. But yeah, again, you get the general idea. Never take computer models that specifically, because again, they do vary quite often. And again, I do think that there will be a moderate risk of severe weather in central Illinois. I mentioned that a few times, I think, but we'll see. Never know. By the way, I'll be posting some updates on Twitter tomorrow, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'll be posting the link in chat. Follow me on other social media platforms. Link is in chat from me, myself. Reed Timmer just posted about the sudden shift towards central Illinois. I've been mentioning this for the last hour. I think that there will be a moderate risk of severe weather in central Illinois. There's been a pretty drastic shift there. You can see the severe storms here. Moderate risk of severe weather is almost definitely going to be shifting down to the south. I mean, let's go back over to the actual model here, or not model, the actual outlook. Again, this moderate risk will likely shift down here. Let's go ahead and kind of figure out where we're going to outline. So kind of like in here, this is where I think a moderate risk of severe weather will be shifted to. So, yeah, again, I think there will. I've not looked at Reed Timmer's tweet, but yeah, I mean, I've been mentioning it for like the last hour. I think that shift will happen. With what we've seen in the most recent computer model runs, there's been a drastic shift to the east. Let me see what he said. I haven't really looked. Yeah, so pretty much what I've been saying. He puts into more detail, but yeah. Central Illinois will be a bit more of a concern tomorrow. And again, the moderate risk where it is right now, I don't think will stay there. I think it will shift. It might actually stay there, but, you know, at this current time, I do not expect this to be like, you know, the prime area for a tornado threat. I think the tornado threat also shifts to the south. This is the tornado risk right now. There we go. So this is the tornado risk. That 15% hatched area will probably shift as well, a bit more to the south and east. And there probably at least will be a 10% hatched area up there. But yeah, the threat is definitely shifting further to the south and east. So make sure you're prepared for that. Thank you, Memphis, for another $10 super chat. As someone with storm anxiety, it is just comforting to see computer models looking at a little bit better. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I totally understand that. You know, there's a lot of people with storm anxiety and whatnot, and you know, the best thing to do, you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be worried. Just have a plan in place. Have that tornado plan in place, and you'll be fine. Trust me. You will. You know, as long as you have a tornado plan in place, have a shelter spot. That's the best thing to do. Again, not everybody's going to see severe weather. That's also good news. If you could be anywhere in this area. You're not guaranteed to see severe weather. Nobody ever said that. You know, you probably will not. I mean, I'm not going to say you probably won't see severe weather, but a lot of you will not see severe weather tomorrow. But a lot of people also will, especially in those areas that have pretty much outlined over the last few hours, especially in central Illinois. That is where we'll probably see the most significant severe weather. But reminder, if you're scared of tornadoes, tornadoes are usually a very small area. They're very, very small in comparison to, like, you know, they're not like massive. They're not covering a huge area like this. I mean, that's what we're looking at with tornadoes. They're usually, you know, less than 1 mile in diameter or whatnot. But you want to have a safety plan in place in case there's a tornado warning or there's a tornado imminent, because again, we can see tornadoes, but they're usually a bit more spotty. You're not going to see tornadoes up and down this entire line of storms in every single one of these little cells. That just doesn't happen. But, you know, some of these cells will obviously produce a tornado threat. Not every one of them will, though. So, again, just, you don't have to panic. No reason to panic. Maryland is not going to see severe weather. Actually, we can take a quick look at that. I don't think they're going to see severe weather, but might see a couple of storms. And maybe a couple of storms Saturday morning, but it wouldn't be severe. Just gusty winds, maybe. Yeah, I get it. You know, the Rolling Fork tornado that happened last week, I know a lot of people saw it and they're like, you know, their storm anxiety is probably off the roof or whatever. But again, that's like a 1 place. It's not like we're going to see that everywhere in this line of storms or anything like that. Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time. You know, we see EF4 tornadoes rarely. They don't happen every week or with every single severe weather event. Even a risk like this, I mean, we might see an EF4 tornado somewhere. It's not out of the question, but you know, it's not like a high risk. It's not like everybody's going to see it either. As long as you have a safety plan in place, you'll be good. That was actually an event that I was not able to watch at all, or even like live stream. I was actually on a trip. I had a pre-planned trip. That was last weekend, and I had a pre-planned trip, so I took the weekend off, and I didn't see the damage until Sunday, or actually no, so I actually saw it Saturday because I was looking through Twitter. But yeah, that was definitely scary. How's it going, Clinton? Welcome back. Southern Indiana, yeah, Southern Indiana will have a bit more of a threat going closer to like 10-ish. I mean, general timing will be probably closer to about 8 to about 1. But if you're down here in Southern Indiana, it's mainly going to be a damaging wind threat. Might see isolated large hail, maybe an isolated tornado, but the threat of tornadoes is much lower this far off to the east. But we very well might see an isolated tornado threat. And also, if we go back over to here real quick, look at this. I actually didn't notice this before, but you might notice here some of these storms around 10 to 11 o'clock. Look at this. A couple of hooks here on some of these storms in the computer model run. That's not really good signs by any means. I mean, this would also indicate that there's a strong enough low-level jet with some of these discrete cells out in front of that line of storms that actually might have a little bit of rotation, which could even lead to a little bit of a tornado threat. So we have to be mindful of this for sure. That's, again, near Cincinnati, back down through Louisville. There's, again, going to be a lot of stuff to watch tomorrow. It's not going to be just one area. So definitely a lot of concerning features to this entire event. And yeah, again, just make sure you have a way to receive alerts and have multiple ways to receive warnings. Very important for tomorrow. Yeah, this does not look good at all, though, in the most recent computer model run here. Thank you, David, for the $4.99. Mount Washington, Kentucky. Kentucky and Mount Washington. I have absolutely no clue where that is. Let me look that up real quick. I didn't even know I thought Mount Washington was just the mountain. I didn't know there was an actual place called Mount Washington in Kentucky. Yeah, so I just kind of mentioned that in Mount Washington, Kentucky. Over that direction, let's find wherever the graphic went. I'll have to just make a new one here. So for those over in that area, so near Louisville, there's going to be a chance for severe weather, most likely going closer to like 9 to 10 o'clock. I'd probably give you a pretty good estimate here of between 8 to 1 o'clock in the Louisville, Mount Washington area. And you might see a bit of severe weather. Damaging winds is still the main concern there. There might still be, again, an isolated tornado threat as well. So 8 to 10 o'clock is your best chance for severe weather. Even more specifically, 9 to like 12 o'clock is probably your best chance anyways. But yeah, 8 to 1 is going to be a pretty good range for you. Thank you, Daniel, for the $2 super chat. I appreciate all the super chats, by the way. I really do. Thank you. You think Chicago will go into a moderate risk of severe weather? No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know. It'll probably stay enhanced. I mean, it's going to be more of a damaging wind threat here. You can see here by 8 o'clock, storms are rolling through Chicago. If they do go under it, it'll probably be for damaging winds. Wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think so. But we'll see. I mean, right now, the risk, let's go back over to the risk right now. This is the current risk of severe weather. Again, the moderate risk is way over here. I've mentioned it several times. This is likely going to shift down into here. I wouldn't rule out that it does go a bit further off to the north, but I think Chicago will stay in that enhanced risk of severe weather, primarily for damaging winds. Yeah, I don't think the moderate risk will be in play too much for Chicago. Chicago weather, mainly damaging winds for the main threat. Isolated tornado threat as well. The suburbs near Naperville, yeah, the same thing there. Damaging winds the main concern. Maybe an isolated tornado or two, though. So yeah, definitely damaging winds being the main threat, I would say, without a doubt. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, for those in Yankton in Bon Homme County in South Dakota. And by the way, believe it or not, that area in South Dakota, that is southeastern South Dakota. I kind of want to pull this up real quick. Whatever. Let's pull it up real quick. Might as well. Let's go over to this and do this. I do want to show you guys this real quick. There are actually blizzard warnings in effect for this part, I'm pretty sure, of South Dakota. And there is currently a storm producing up to golf ball sized hail moving into Springfield, South Dakota. Kind of wild stuff here. Not a tornado warning, by the way. Let me change that. There we go. So yeah, again, little storm here producing some, you know, maybe golf ball sized hail at maximum. It's been producing up to hen egg sized hail at one point, moving up to the north and east, excuse me. And yeah, probably closer to quarter sized hail though once it moves into South Dakota. That's at least what the warning's for. No reports of hail recently, so. Yeah, this area I'm pretty sure is under a blizzard warning, which is kind of crazy. And by the way, this is the threat for severe weather for tomorrow. There you go. So this is the threat for severe weather tomorrow, primarily for northeast Arkansas and right now through Tennessee and southwest Kentucky. That's your moderate risk. Again, I think that this moderate risk shifts into probably this region here. That will probably be the new moderate risk of severe weather for tomorrow. Is my guess. Again, things could change, but I think that threat will be probably shifting a bit further over to the south and east with the latest data that we've been getting. So, if you had to make an educated guess, what places would you have the highest tornado threat for tomorrow? Yeah, I can actually outline it on this map. This map is a little bit easier to outline that stuff. So I think the main tornado threat tomorrow, it's kind of hard to like say like the main area because it's kind of like it's weird. It's not like it's just weird because there's so many different areas that we could see that tornado threat. With how large this area is, it makes it more difficult. But the main area I think will actually be here in central Illinois. There will also be a threat for that back up into here around that low pressure system back through southwest Wisconsin into eastern Iowa. And the other area will probably be in here. And maybe a bit further up here to the north and east as well. So yeah, kind of this area as well. So dashed areas would more represent probably at least, you know, not like the most significant. This is the most significant two areas in my opinion. Slightly significant, but not as significant in these two dashed areas. Obviously, there's a chance for a tornado anywhere outside of that, but that'd probably be the main area there. All right, let's go back over to the other graphics. I like using that a little bit. I use that a lot for actual severe weather live streams. I mean, this is more of a discussion forecast and whatnot, but. Nothing for Virginia. At least nothing really severe. Friendly reminder, by the way, if you're just tuning in, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do live weather forecasts and as well as regular weather forecast videos all the time. So make sure to subscribe. You get the most latest details. Also, a lot of you probably haven't already. Click the little bell icon down below. It gets you notified for any live streams. That includes severe weather live streams and as well as weather forecasts. And also make sure to like the stream. It's free to do. Thank you, Matthew, for the $4.99. How about I-80 between Des Moines and Davenport tomorrow? Yeah, so let's go to Iowa. I haven't talked about that in a little while. Because Iowa's kind of like one of those areas that the threat is shifting further to the east now, by a little bit. The low pressure system hasn't really sped up a whole lot. It's just more of the factor of the low-level jet is much stronger to your south and east. I do not have a tab open with that, but let's go over here and do Iowa. So yeah, it's going to be primarily over closer to Iowa City and Davenport is my guess for severe weather. You can see here by 1 to 2 o'clock, maybe some hailstorms in southeast Iowa, but by 3 to 4 o'clock, we might start to see a couple of cells here. This is where a tornado threat will definitely exist. I mean, we could still see a moderate risk of severe weather here, but that moderate risk will probably shift further down the south and east regardless, at least extend down that direction. See some of these like little rotating cells here that it's indicating on the HRR model near Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, excuse me. And eventually going closer to 4 or 5 o'clock around the low pressure system is where we do definitely have some spin with these storms. So between about 2 or maybe about 1 o'clock-ish to about 6 to 7 o'clock is when there could be some severe weather. So east of Des Moines would be probably where that severe weather occurs. I don't think Des Moines will see much of anything tomorrow. For that tornado threat, it'll probably be like over here if there were to be a tornado threat there. Thank you again for the $5 super chat. There we go. Nashville, should I go grocery shopping tomorrow or no? Nashville, if you're going before like 2 or 3 o'clock, you should be fine. You go like after 5 o'clock, no, I wouldn't. I would wait till like Saturday. Let me just double check though. Let me look at the timing again. Yeah, Nashville, honestly, you're probably fine even up until like, you know, You should be fine before 7 o'clock, but I wouldn't recommend it really that much further after like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. But storms probably will not arrive until like 10 o'clock, the ones that are severe. You'll have some convection out there, but not a whole lot of this will be severe. But it's probably safer to go before 5 if you're able to. If not, just wait till Saturday. Thank you for the $2 super chat from Tater as well as Kin. Evansville, Indiana. Timing is probably going to be between about 6 to 10 o'clock. Again, damaging winds the main threat. There might be a couple of tornadoes in that region as well. Chasing in northwest Illinois. Where would you set up? Let's go up there. So west and northwest Illinois. I mean, it depends on what you're doing exactly, like in terms of the... I'm guessing you're going to probably be out there all day is my guess. But let's go back to about 2 o'clock or so. If you're looking for a tornado risk, and if you're just staying in Illinois, if you're not going into Iowa at all, I would probably honestly set up maybe a bit further over here, maybe closer to wherever this intersection is here of the two interstates, south of Rockford, because there will probably be some storms firing up around 4 to 6 o'clock in this region. Now, keep a close eye to the HRR model. It's usually pretty precise with the location of supercells and whatnot. I think that the main area here will probably be in this region for a tornado threat as well as the damaging wind potential. So if you're trying to chase after a tornado in an embedded line of storms, with embedded tornadoes, I mean, probably right in here would be probably the main area. So maybe east of Galesburg, near Peoria. That's probably the main area there. Or maybe that. But it's probably going to be a bit more of a damaging wind potential with that. If you're looking for a bit more of a tornado threat and you want to go into Iowa, maybe near Cedar Rapids wouldn't be a horrible idea. Because there will probably be at least a couple of tornadoes over there in eastern Iowa tomorrow before like 5, 6 o'clock. So before sunset. But yeah, damaging wind potential more than anything in this, with embedded tornadoes with that QLCS potential as well. I think I answered both of those, right? Yeah, all right, cool. If you have any other questions, by the way, feel free to leave those in the chat. Friendly reminder, if you're just tuning in, make sure to like the stream, subscribe, as well as if you're new here. Do live streams, forecasts all the time. We're only 2 subscribers from 37,500. Make sure to subscribe. Michigan. Michigan shouldn't be too bad tomorrow. The only area that I have any concern about in Michigan is like near Portage and South Bend, which South Bend's in Indiana. But like in this area, damaging wind potential will be higher here. Threat of severe weather goes lower the further east you go into like Jackson and whatnot. So that's what I'm looking at right now in terms of the severe weather potential in those areas. Now, I do a forecast for St. Louis. Sure. St. Louis will probably see severe storms sometime between 2 to about, I don't know, 2 to about 8 o'clock is probably your best chance. Because the main thing is there's going to be 2 different areas of storms. The first one will be that discrete potential for a couple of discrete cells. Now, again, the HR model doesn't indicate anything near you, but that doesn't mean you won't see anything. You'll probably at least see something over near St. Louis in terms of a storm or 2 there. But 2 to 5 o'clock is when discrete supercell action is possible. A line of storms will likely develop between 5 to 7. That is when damaging winds will be a bit more of a concern near St. Louis, and maybe some large hail. Thank you, Justin, for the $2. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Justin, yes, I do. Cap should hold in DFW for tonight and tomorrow. Guys, really main reason why. Let's go down here. So, Texas, North Texas. I haven't actually looked at North Texas at all, but this is the current look at the future radar. There's nothing you can see here. I mean, the only storms that might develop would be like in here, back near Texarkana and back near Waco, but the threat's pretty low even then of really a whole lot of severe weather here. It'll be more of a hail threat with maybe a little bit of isolated damaging winds. DFW specifically, though, will be capped off. Well, I highly doubt there'll be any severe weather there. I know there's a marginal threat near Interstate 35W, but I highly doubt they'll see any severe weather. It's just the cap will be too strong. All the cloud cover that we've seen over the past 24 hours has really limited all the severe weather potential. Thank you, Kit, for the $1 as well. Appreciate it. They do Alabama. Sure. Why not? I haven't actually talked about Alabama either. A lot of these places I haven't really talked about, but you know, I did talk about Alabama briefly. Alabama will be an overnight threat into Saturday morning, so damaging winds the main concern with this line of storms. There might be a little bit of isolated hail, but damaging winds definitely the main concern here near Birmingham, back through areas in Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, overall threat not too concerning. It's just more of a damaging wind threat. I wouldn't rely on an isolated tornado, but it's going to be overnight Friday night to Saturday morning, so have multiple ways to receive alerts, have your weather radio on, and all that sort of jazz. Have a tornado action plan in place. I cannot stress this enough. I said it a lot in my video forecast today on YouTube. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive alerts and have a tornado action plan in place now and not tomorrow when you're under a tornado warning, because you don't want to panic last second and figure out where you're going. Have an interior room of home, lowest floor possible. Again, interior room of your home or building. That would be in an area like, a closet, a bathroom, that sort of thing. That's what you're going to want to do to make sure that you're safe tomorrow. If you don't have an interior room away from windows, a bathroom like a tub is always the best idea. So have that plan in place tonight. Thank you, Michaela, for the 99 cents. Appreciate it. I'm a DoorDash delivery driver in Rockford, Illinois. That's interesting. Excuse me. You're wondering when to deliver. Now, I've actually never been asked by a delivery driver before when they should deliver. That's actually kind of funny. Surprisingly, I've never been asked that question. If you're in Rockford, you should be good until about 2 o'clock. After 2, things get a bit dicey. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, you probably can go until like 4 or 5, but I wouldn't risk it really that far away. You might get some large hail potential out of some of those convective cells in central Illinois a little bit before that, so. Appreciate you mentioned that. I've actually never been asked by a delivery driver before about severe weather. A lot of the time it's like truck drivers or, storm chasers, that sort of thing, but that's pretty cool. Never been asked by a DoorDasher before. Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, you'll be fine. Kansas City's not going to see anything. Let's go back over to Kansas City. Thank you, by the way, Deborah, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. So Kansas City, this is the current dew points. This is like the easiest sign to look at here. Kansas City will be out of the picture of any severe weather by 1 o'clock. And severe storms are not expected to develop really in Kansas City. This is the current timing of any storms. There might be an isolated storm near you, but large hail will be the only concern, and it's going to probably stay to your south and east with the current timing given. But have a plan in place and have ways to receive alerts just in case. But I think that threat will be pretty much none over there. If not, it's at least going to be very low. It won't be actually none. It'll be very, very low. You'll be fine. No problem, home. Appreciate you tuning in. I think Chicago is going to see a tornado warning. Guys, I can't tell you if one area is going to see a tornado warning or not. I can give you a probability, or at least an area where the tornado threat will be the greatest, which I've mentioned several times will probably be throughout this entire region here. Back even into central Illinois, that's probably where our greatest tornado threat will be, back in the Midwest. Again, back down to the south in areas like Kentucky, or like southwest Kentucky, back through like northeast Arkansas. There's another tornado threat pretty similar to this one, but this is my more concerning area here for a tornado threat. So that would basically just be west of Chicago. Chicago will be more of a damaging wind potential. I cannot predict the future with a tornado warning. It's I mean, I can give you an idea of where probably the highest tornado threat will be, but Chicago will not be in the highest zone for a tornado threat. This is Chicago at 8 o'clock, by the way. Severe storms rolling through around 7 to 8, probably. Thank you, that dude for the $4.99. Yo, is there a highly tornado risk area in St. Louis? No, not really. But I mean, let's go to the tornado values right now from the Storm Prediction Center, which again, these will probably change, or they will change definitely. This is the current forecast. St. Louis is not in a 10% area yet. I would expect this to extend into St. Louis. I think that this will be a moderate risk, at least an enhanced risk of a tornado threat, which is that 10% area, that yellow shaded area. I think St. Louis will get upgraded a little bit, but I would not anticipate that there'll be a huge threat back over in St. Louis in terms of the tornado threat. But it's going to be a little bit higher than what it is right now, I'd expect. A medium threat of tornadoes, but it's not high. By no means is it high right now. Thank you, Christy, for the $4.99. I live in Jonesboro, Arkansas. What times will the storms move in? I need to figure out where that is. Jonesboro. Actually, is it on the map? Double check. Some of these cities are on the map, and I Oh, yeah, it is. All right, never mind. So Jonesboro is an area that I have some concern with. No reason to panic. I'm just saying there's a bit more concern over here because the low-level winds will be much higher, and as well as the shear back over near Jonesboro, which may lead to a slightly higher tornado threat than an area like, let's just say, Little Rock. But going into tomorrow morning, again, maybe some early morning convection. 2 to 3 o'clock is when storms start to ramp up a bit more. Timing for you will probably be between, I'd say, 1:30 to about 7 o'clock. That's your best chance for storms. Severe weather is more likely, though, between about 4 to 5. But again, 1:30 to 7. That's your time frame. I'd expect it closer, though, to maybe about 4 to 5. So that's what we're looking at there. Thank you, Panaco, for the 199. Excuse me, I appreciate it. Tornado parameter in southern Indiana. Yeah, let me pull that up. Actually, I haven't looked at the tornado parameter here in a while. We were talking about a lot about this at the beginning of the stream because it's such a critical value. I mean, it really tells you a lot about where the tornado threat will be the highest and whatnot. So those over in southern Indiana, that is where we're looking for a bit more of a lower end tornado threat. If you're back over like southwest Indiana, it is slightly higher. You can see the values here around 3 along that leading edge of storms. Discrete cells out in front of it will also have a little bit of an opportunity to maybe have a couple of tornadoes there. You can see here, though, once that line of storms rolls through Indiana, the values are only around 1. That is a low tornado threat, so not too high there. We're looking at there. Do I own a trampoline? No, I do not. I never planned on owning a trampoline. Again, I made this forecast for a reason, and I was like, I always wanted a trampoline, but the thing is, there's just no way with what I've seen from severe weather that I'm ever going to get a trampoline. So, yeah, this is where we're at now. Never getting a trampoline. Thank you, Liz, for the $5 super chat. Would you call that squall line or a QLCS? I would probably call it a QLCS. But again, we could see a squall line too. I mean, we could see both, but you know, we'll see tomorrow. But right now, what's being forecasted more than anything would probably be more of a threat of a QLCS, which is a line of damaging winds with embedded tornadoes. Man, you guys are going crazy with super chats tonight. Thank you, lovely. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $2. Anything going on in Northeast Ohio tomorrow? Go to Northeast Ohio. I wouldn't expect a whole lot. It's going to be more of just rain. There might be an isolated severe storm near Cleveland overnight, but it would be more of like isolated damaging winds, more lightning than anything out of these. It wouldn't be anything that crazy in terms of severe weather, so not too concerning. But yeah, overall you should be fine. Thanks again for the $2 super chat. Thank you, Brent, for the $4.99. Sorry, by the way, for those that are commenting questions in chat, I will try to get to them. Again, I try to prioritize super chats just because, you know, again, they're highlighted as well, so it makes it easier. Thank you, Thank you, Brent, for the $4.99. Based out of Iowa City here, I cover all of eastern Iowa. Should I make a call, make tomorrow an office day? I would. I mean, that's just coming from me. I would. Because eastern Iowa will be interesting. If we go back over to Iowa, this is Iowa here, and Iowa will be interesting because this is right next to the low pressure system, right? So our upper level winds and all that sort of stuff is much stronger, and that'll lead to a tornado threat. These storms will be moving to the north and east, going closer to the early to mid afternoon hours. We'll have a lot of these storms initially rotating, maybe some hail producers as well. See these like little hooks as well being shown on the computer models. So there will be a bit more of a tornado threat going closer to like the mid afternoon hours as well. And yeah, there will definitely be a tornado threat there. So I would, if I were in your position, I would, but again, that's just me. But yeah, that'll go through about 7 o'clock, so it's basically going to be during the daytime. Go back over to, I have so many tabs open. All right. Thank you, title for the $1.99, tornado threat in Chicago, south suburbs. It is going to be on the low to medium end of a tornado threat. So a bit lower than like central Illinois. Again, this is the area that the Storm Prediction Center has outlined here for a tornado threat. I think, again, this will shift further to the south and east, and it'll probably be a bit more in this area here. But this will probably actually still exist over in Iowa with what we just looked at there. I mean, there's still going to be some rotating supercells, probably a couple of tornadoes in eastern Iowa. But yeah, just to the west of Chicago is a bit higher of a threat. Chicago will be more of a damaging wind potential. So that's what we're looking at there. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. 988 of you are watching. With that being said, we only have 700 likes. A lot of you probably haven't liked the stream, so make sure to like the stream. Helps get this stuff to more people. And also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. We do weather forecasts like this all of the time. and weather live streams, weather forecasts, all that sort of stuff. We'll keep you posted ahead of the storms with anything that does happen. All right. Sorry. Just realized I've been live for an hour and a half and I've not looked at my phone at all, so I got a lot of messages. All right. Seriously, this is the dopest place for weather information. I mean, you know, that I try to just provide good weather forecasts. It's not like I don't know. For whatever reason, though, like recently, my YouTube page has been blowing up, and I don't know why, but you know, I've always done weather again just for, you know, I've been doing this for like 4 years. I've only done nationwide weather for about a year now, and I just love doing it. You know, I wouldn't be live or doing any of this if I didn't enjoy it. I like literally, I don't find this at all like a job or anything like that. I just love to do it. I literally do, and I love talking about weather. It's always been my favorite thing ever since I was 3. You know, so you know, it's a kind of one of those things. I don't really care a whole lot about subscribers or views or anything like that, but as long as it's helping people out, that's what's most important, for sure. Thank you, Liz, for the $5 super chat. I did a couple of storm spotter classes with the National Weather Service, and I learned the difference between squall lines and QLCSs. Or QLCS. But I'm not sure what they are all the time. Typically, squall lines are more damaging wind potential. And QLCS is more of like an embedded tornado threat embedded with a like it's pretty much. Let me kind of go over this. I kind of want to make it a bit more simple here. So let's go over to here. So for tomorrow, it's a bit more of a QLCS situation, most likely. Like you can see here across Illinois, this is a bit more of a QLCS situation, more because there will be a lot of that low-level shear. It'll be pretty strong, which is going to allow for some embedded tornadoes in that line of storms. A squall line is more of just a damaging wind threat, so that's really the biggest difference. The QLCS is basically almost like a squall line, but with embedded tornadoes. That's kind of the easiest way to think about it there. Thank you, Lisa, for the $9.99 as well. I appreciate it. Thank you. Paducah, Kentucky. Let's go to Paducah, Kentucky. Go to there. Yeah, Paducah will probably see storms. Let's see. I think it's going to be probably during like the late afternoon. So you can see here, probably around about 5 to about 10 o'clock is your best chance. You'll have a potential for a few discrete cells between about 5 to 8. That is a bit more of a concerning area for that tornado threat as well as damaging winds. When it comes to discrete supercells, the line of storms will arrive probably between about 7 to 10. That is more of a damaging wind threat. So thank you, Liz, for becoming a storm chaser member as well. I appreciate it. Guys, I am not talking about Tuesday, just for the record. I know this, I did show this once. I am not talking about Tuesday at all right now. Much more concerning right now is tomorrow. I literally cannot stress that enough. I don't know why so many people are trying to look ahead to Tuesday right now, because things change so many times in between now and then. A lot of it's just hype, really, to be honest with you right now. Like, you know, there's been a lot of hype around this event already, but it's too early. It's too early to really be talking about specifics or anything like that for that event. It's a lot more important and critical to be talking about tomorrow, because tomorrow is really gonna be a significant weather day, and it's imminent. It's like literally about to happen. You know, Tuesday is not weeks away. It's days away from even happening, and there's a lot of things that are still uncertain with that event, anyways. So we're primarily gonna be again, we're like 99.9% focused on this. So. Let me just real quickly check. Just want to make sure. I do have a donation link, by the way, pinned in chat, but I don't think anybody's donated through that, right? All right, cool. I just want to make sure. A lot of super chats. Making sure. I don't have notifications entirely set up for that. A little heads up, by the way, if you're in the Upper Michigan Peninsula, near Green Bay, currently mixed precipitation is going on. Snowfall rates will increase, rates up to 1 inch per hour. Just a little heads up. There's obviously been some ongoing snow up there. There's actually going to be a blizzard over in South Dakota. So, crazy stuff. Is there a city near Greene County, Illinois? If so, just at me again. It's a little bit easier for me to see it if you at me. Thank you, Batman, for the $2 super chat. Should we expect anything in Dayton, Ohio? Yeah, Dayton, Ohio is in the risk for severe weather for sure. Let me go back over to the Ohio map. To this point, oh, actually, I found it. Never mind. So Ohio is probably gonna have that threat after 8 o'clock. That is your best chance for severe weather. You might notice here around midnight, you can actually see the HR model is kind of spitting out a couple of supercells that have a little bit of a hook shape to it. There will be enough rotation over here for maybe an isolated tornado or two. So if you're in Dayton or Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, be mindful. There's a chance for maybe a isolated tornado or two down that direction. So I have multiple ways to receive alerts. That'll probably be after 10 o'clock, between 10 to about 2 a.m. is your best chance there. There will also be a line of storms to the north of that. You may have noticed here around 10 or about 12 o'clock, excuse me, near Fort Wayne. That is where a damaging wind threat will be more greater there. So, but not a whole lot of a tornado threat with that probably after 10. Or after 12, I should say. I keep saying 10 and 12. I keep flipping them. But yeah, get the point. Yeah. Make sure you have a way to receive alerts there. Carrollton. I have absolutely no clue about it still. I'll just look it up. Greene County, Illinois. Oh, that's north of St. Louis. Yeah, so if you're over in anywhere just north of St. Louis, even anywhere around St. Louis, your best chance for storms is from 2 to 7 o'clock. Tornado threat will exist a bit more out of those initial discrete supercells, and then we'll be watching for a bit more of a line of storms, which will be more of a damaging wind threat. That'll happen closer to about 5 to 8 o'clock. So that's your timing right now for that area. How's Madison, Wisconsin looking? Thank you for the $4.99 as well. Madison, Wisconsin. Let's go up to the north. So yeah, Madison, Wisconsin's a bit of an interesting area. And I mentioned this before, actually back up here. And this is really cool for those that are interested in like the dew point and how sharp the contrast is here. This is where our warm front is with this low pressure system. Our low pressure system is centered here by late tomorrow morning. And what's interesting enough with this system is that there will be a very sharp divide here of dew points and temperatures, and this is where our warm front is going to set up. A lot more wind shears available in this area as well. With a very strong low pressure system, we'll have a lot of shear in this region, which will equivalent to the potential for maybe a couple of tornadoes. So we have to watch this area still pretty closely. There is obviously a moderate risk of severe weather there. Once we get closer to the afternoon and evening hours, that is still where we have dew points up to around 55 to 60. That's going to create some buoyancy in the atmosphere, which will lead to the threat for some severe weather. So Madison's kind of right on that line, honestly, for severe weather in terms of the severe weather risk. If we go closer to Wisconsin here, this is Madison, and look at the very bottom of your screen. That is where you can notice maybe a couple of supercells in your area. Have ways to receive alerts, because Madison is definitely in the line for maybe a couple of storms tomorrow night, which those could also be severe. So, that in mind. Have a great night, Cynthia. Appreciate you tuning in. How's Lakeland, Florida doing? We've had no rain. I know, Florida's well below average for precipitation. I can quickly look to see if anything's coming. I don't think anything is, though, to be honest. It's going to be a pretty subtle next few weeks in Florida. This is the wide look at things. I'll just quickly go through this. So a low chance maybe this weekend. Next week, there might be some isolated storm activity. Not a whole lot, honestly. There's not really much of anything. What in the world's going on here? European model almost like, it looks like almost like a, well, not really. It looked like it was coming out of the Gulf there for a second. Almost looked like a small tropical storm or something, but no. You know, it's too far out to even talk about that. Real quick, let's go to the rainfall totals. Yeah, not much, unfortunately. And I know, Florida's kind of been that little boat there of not a whole lot of rain. It's going to continue, unfortunately. Florida's been in a bit of a drought, I'm pretty sure, too, so. Rain is not coming anytime soon, though, unfortunately. I think storms will start to pop up a bit more often, though, with the sea breezes and all that sort of stuff. We should start to see some more storm activity here pretty soon. Actually, that's a good idea. So for those that are wondering about specific questions, one of the best ways to get those answered is simply by watching the first 15 minutes of this live stream. I went over literally everything in depth at the beginning, so I highly recommend you do that even after this live stream ends. You know, it's a great way to get some information on the fly. Or you can watch today's forecast as well. Today's forecast is like 10 minutes long, which actually today's forecast was like one of my longer forecasts I've ever done. 10.5 minutes. I usually don't go over 8 minutes, but 10.5 minutes was up there. But yeah, today's forecast was pretty long. Again, make sure to watch that as well. You can get some details there if you need them. But again, I'm still answering questions here for the next 13 minutes. I gotta go at like 11:35, so I'll be, or 11:35 Eastern, so be live here for about 15 more minutes. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll be answering a lot of them. Again, I highly recommend you ask questions because I'll try to answer, again, as many as I can here in a short time. What should we expect in mid-Missouri? Mid-Missouri will be more of a, really, the threat of severe weather is interesting in Missouri because I think more than anything, there'll be a couple of discrete supercells that develop, which could lead to a bit more of a tornado threat. The HR model is interesting. It actually shows some convection that boils up during the late morning. This might be a bit more of a hail threat, and this actually might create a little bit of sinking air near central Missouri, which may just lead to a bit more of, you know, nothing after that. The tornado threat will likely be a bit further off to your east. If you're in like Columbia, you know, if that convection happens during the morning, you'll be most likely just looking at that in terms of a low-end hail and damaging wind potential. By the afternoon, there's a few cells that develop, and those could also produce a tornado threat. But yeah, it's interesting. This is a little bit of an interesting area, but the HR model is very specific. There might be an isolated storm after 5 o'clock as well, but that would not be probably severe if you're in central Missouri. Good question, though. That's actually a good question. All the questions have been good, but that's actually, it's more of an interesting question, I'd say, because it's an interesting area there. Sure. With how the setup is, you know. Again, the HR model, it can be right and wrong, but if there's that convection in the morning, you'll probably be pretty on the low end of severe weather after that. It's going well, Mary. Thanks. Yeah, it's been going. I watch you every day. Appreciate it. All right. Do appreciate everybody that watches the videos and live streams. Honestly, the most recent forecast, we've had 4 forecasts in a row that have gone over 40,000 views, which is insane. Today's forecast is at 50,000 views. I cannot thank you guys enough. I honestly never would have thought that we would ever get to this point with anything, honestly. Like, it's crazy. Again, we had a 100,000 view video a few days ago. Literally, I've been doing this for 4 years. First 3 years, my highest viewed video in those 3 years was maybe 1,000 views. Obviously, it was North Texas only, but, you know, a lot of the videos were like 50 to 100 views, and I never really cared about views anyways. I just loved doing it. I made forecasts literally every day. Never really cared about the views, and I still really don't that much. You know, they're cool. It's a cool metric, but I just love making weather forecasts. It's my passion, and I love to do it. Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, NATO Cash just came out with a new graphic for tomorrow. Let's actually pull this up real quick. This is the NATO cast latest update. For those that are wondering, this is just another, this is a person that basically has computer models and estimates the tornado threat as well. No really big changes here. You know, you got your 10% probability area there. Also down here in Mississippi, actually, interestingly enough, Mississippi and Alabama. But yeah, it's an interesting metric. Not really showing anything too crazy here. But this is kind of the main area. I think, again, that threat of that moderate risk will probably extend into this region here. I don't think we go to a high risk of severe weather unless it's for damaging winds. I've mentioned that a few times, but yeah, because the damaging wind threat will probably be a bit higher here in central Illinois tomorrow. So that's my bigger concern for sure. Damaging winds. Thank you, Alpha, for the $2 super chat. Sorry, I missed that. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mostly just rain if you're in Grand Rapids. Maybe isolated damaging winds. I don't expect much of any sort of severe weather. Damaging winds is really the only concern I'd expect there. But just in case, have a tornado plan in place. It should be a pretty low threat, though. How's it going, Ro? Welcome back. I remember that. Canton, Texas got hit by an EF4 tornado with a 2% probability. I do remember that, actually. I watched... I don't remember... I didn't watch it happen on that day, but I actually got recommended a YouTube video in 2020 of that exact live streaming event. I actually watched it, and it was interesting. For sure. There was a lot of tornadoes, I'm pretty sure, that day, too. There were several. There wasn't just that one, but yeah, that was a crazy tornado. Have a great night, Patricia. Have a great night. Bradley asks, how do you know that there's going to be hail in a storm besides saying there's a chance? Well, you know, I try to keep things simple a lot of the time. I do go into detail with a lot of things. This event isn't really capable of a huge hail threat, But I will tell you, kind of the details on like, how do I actually know? So let's go over to the Ohio Valley. I'll do like a brief explanation. I'm not going to say everything, but these are just some of the general things that we can look at. One of which is instability. This is a given with really any severe weather. You need some instability. This is not the instability. This is, well, that's instability, but this is the more, manageable instability. This is your instability values. When we see instability values around 1,500 to 2,000 joules per kilogram, that means that we could see some severe weather. So that's the general beginning of a hail threat. Other thing is lapse rates, and especially between 700 to 500 millibars, which is usually where the supercells have some of those updrafts and whatnot. When we look at lapse rates upwards of, 8 to 9, that usually indicates a pretty hefty hail threat if there's any severe weather ongoing. Now, at this current time, that's about 1 o'clock. Severe storms won't be ongoing, but any of those storms that develop over here in Iowa, you can see here, 7 degrees Celsius per kilometer. That is our decrease in temperature as we go into the atmosphere. So that's our temperature decrease going up, and that's just a great error. But basically, I want to show you a sounding. Soundings are just much easier. Let's go to soundings. So when we look at sounding here, this is your temperature decrease as we go up into the atmosphere. And the more steep this is, and if there are strong enough updrafts in the thunderstorms, the higher the hail threat will be. So with this, you can see here the temperature is decreasing. That's about 7 to 8 degrees Celsius per kilometer between the 700 millibar and the 500 millibar level. And with strong updrafts, we get that hail potential with this. And you also can see here, the significant supercell threat is here. This actually does not show a hail potential, but if we went to an actual storm that was on the radar that showed that, we would be able to see that more easily. So that's a general idea of what that is. I actually probably will make a little tutorial video at some point in the future about hail. Actually, I think I've made a video. I think it's only members only though. Yeah, actually I have. Never mind. There is actually a video about how hailstones and all that sort of stuff, like how you actually figure out what the hail threat will be on a day. I have a members only video on that if you want to check that out if you're a member. It's under the member only tutorials. It's like the only member only tutorial I have, but I do actually have a tutorial on that. I made that last summer, I think, so. Lord, you can't, unfortunately. Unless you're talking about this view, you need to pay for it. No problem, Bradley. Sorry. That was kind of a bit more of a complicated explanation, but I try to make it simple. But yeah, in simplistic terms, whenever I'm doing weather forecasts and stuff, I mean, I go into detail on a lot of things when it comes to like damaging wind and tornado potential, especially with this event. The hail threat is not that high. If we go to the hail threat for tomorrow, there's only one really area in particular that has a hail potential, and that is back over in the Midwest, and you can see that here. It's back over in eastern Iowa and as well as western Illinois. That's where we might see some large to very large hail. Elsewhere, that threat is pretty low. So I'm glad, Safe. Appreciate you tuning in. I can help you. Thank you, Chicken, for the $3 donation. Let me check this out. What is the chance of tornadoes near Madison, Alabama, west of Huntsville? The threat of tornadoes down in Alabama is low. I don't expect much of a tornado threat down that direction. Let's go down here and put the timing on. The tornado threat down here, though, is probably going to be pretty low overall. So this is kind of your general timing here, going through 1 a.m. and whatnot. I don't expect a whole lot here, but there might be an isolated tornado. The threat of damaging winds is more concerning. This is going to be an overnight threat as well, so make sure you have ways to receive alerts, and make sure you have, like, actual ways, like, make sure you get dinged and whatnot with, like, your phone. Make sure that's not on silent. But yeah, more of a damaging wind threat here across Alabama and Mississippi. Oh, I do appreciate everybody tuning into the live stream. If you've not already, make sure to like the stream. Subscribe to our channel if you've not already. It's free to do. And that way you get stay up to date with the latest weather forecasts and as well as weather live streams, severe weather live streams, and all that sort of jazz. And make sure also, friendly reminder, click the bell icon down below so you get notified when I go live, and as well as have the latest weather forecasts. Let me go real quickly over to here. All right, we got about 5-ish more minutes, I think. I got about 5 more minutes to answer any more questions, so let me know if you have any other questions in the chat. I've gone over a lot of stuff, and if you have to leave at any point, just a friendly reminder, you can go to the very beginning of this live stream and get 20 minutes of only talking about the weather. I don't answer questions then. It's very specific detailed breakdown, though. If you go to the first 20 minutes of this live stream, you have all that you need to know for tomorrow. make sure to check that out. If you have any additional questions after this live stream's over, I highly recommend that. Or you can go over to our YouTube channel on the latest video. It has all the details there as well. Can you answer my super chat? Did I miss it? Oh, sorry. Thank you for the $1.99. Mayfield, Kentucky. Have family in both. You're talking about like timing and stuff. The threat there is really, again, damaging winds and as well as the tornado risk. If we're talking about timing over there in Mayfield and whatnot, it's probably going to be between about 8 or maybe a little bit before that. Let's say about, let's kind of give you a good timing here. So broad timing is 6 to about 12 for Mayfield. But the one thing is the damaging wind threat will be more of a threat with that line of storms behind it. So you can see here that line of storms. That's more concerning behind for that damaging wind threat, but the tornado threat will be a bit more prominent with any discrete cells that form out in front of that, which will exist probably between 6 to 10 o'clock in Mayfield. Sorry, I missed that. If you don't do a $5 super chat, by the way, or $4.99, whatever it is, I don't see it like pinned in the chat, so it's a little bit harder to see. So if I missed any other super chats, just let me know. I don't think I have though. Yeah, Mayfield 6 to 11, probably better time frame. I don't think you'll see anything after 12. I'm telling you, this office chair is so uncomfortable. It is literally the most uncomfortable thing ever. I don't know how I've been live for 2 hours. I couldn't tell you. For those that are wondering, by the way, and just tuning in, my office chair that I spent like $200 on broke. The screws are literally snapped in half and stuck inside, so I can't even get the screws out. That's why it's broken, and an entire handle's broken. I bought it like 4 months ago, and it's a goner. I'm glad I wasted $200 on an office chair. I have to get a new one. I'd be live tomorrow, but again, my back is going to be killing if I go live tomorrow. I literally need an office chair, so I apologize. You know, it's kind of all out of the blue, to be honest, but hopefully I get a new one soon, because this is incredibly uncomfortable. I know people say Herman Miller, but I do not feel like dishing out like $1,000 on a chair. You know, I don't make enough doing this to be able to spend that much on a chair, but maybe in the future, you never know. But for right now, I mean, the chair I had actually was pretty comfortable. You know, I'm not going to lie, but the problem was it just broke so fast. Quite comfortable, and I've been using it since the fall. Return that chair? I can't. It's through Amazon, but it's too late to return it. Should have probably gotten the warranty or whatever. Jake asks, what are the chances for a extension of the moderate or a high risk? High risk, I would say, is low. The only way I see a high risk happening is for damaging winds. But the moderate risk could go all the way through here. I think the moderate risk will extend probably into that area. Give or take with the line, it's kind of just a little sketch, but that's kind of the area that I think that the moderate risk, the moderate risk of severe weather might extend into for damaging winds and the tornado threat as well. That chair didn't last very long. Do you remember? I don't know if Rowan, I don't know if you were there. A few months ago, I had a live stream, and my chair, you might have heard, but my chair like literally broke on stream. That was the handle that broke. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if anybody was there, but I will not be live tomorrow. No, again, I don't have a chair. Like, this chair is so uncomfortable. It's not even funny. If I were at my actual studio, which again, I'm at college right now. If I was at my studio, I would be able to, stand and actually have a different office chair, but I don't have that availability. So unfortunately, and I also, by the way, some interesting news. I have a green screen now. I've gotten some lighting. I will be able to use a green screen in the future for weather live streams and even forecasts. So stay tuned. That'll probably start in May or June. I've dished out like $500 in that green screen setup, and it's hopefully going to pay off because I don't even know if I have the right lighting for it. That's the most annoying part. Be exciting though. It'll be exciting because I love using green screens. So they'll probably be used here in the future, but not anytime in the next month. I've had a green screen for a while. I just never had the proper lighting and all that. So. I'm not blasting a chair company on social media. I'm good. I'm not gonna blast them. I mean, it happens. It's Amazon. Chairs are chairs, and whatever. That's fine. You lose it. It's an investment, and an investment went horrible. Let's just say that. So yeah, it's all right. It happens. Oops. Low chance of any tornadoes in Nashville or Middle Tennessee. Low chance. It's not zero, though, so have a plan in place and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know where to shop for chairs. It's the problem. Like, you know, I want to get a Herman Miller, but they're so expensive. It's difficult to get a good office chair. I mean, at least on Amazon. I don't know where else you really would shop for them, but you guys know of any stores that have office chairs? I'm just curious. Because I might be able to go get an office chair tomorrow and maybe go live, but the other thing is, I don't know if I'll get back in time because I have classes. So, but if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I don't know if there's any actual places that or any like chains. I don't know if Staples has them or anything like that. I have zero clue. Staples? I have no clue. It's funny. I actually, for those that are wondering, I have a P.O. box in the description for those that want to end up mailing me anything ever. I don't know. I just put it there because some people are asking for it. I do have a P.O. box, and it's actually at a Staples. So, there you go. Staples. I've been in Staples once to get a package, and I'm not going to lie, I don't remember seeing anything other than just a bunch of paper everywhere. So, I have no clue. Staples has chairs? All right, I'll have to look into it. Office Depot. I have no clue about Office Depot. Will a chair fit in the P.O. box? It's not like an actual P.O. box. They just get it mailed there. I think they'll be fine with a chair. If you really wanted to mail a chair to me, I mean, like, literally, I think they would. They accept those, I'm pretty sure. Oversized packages I have to pay like $5 for, but like, you know. Yeah, P.O. box, it's not like an actual P.O. box. It's called like a virtual mailing address or something like that. So I can just like have things mailed there. I pay like something for it, but you know, it's worth it because I don't need to get a small box to have things fit into it. Facebook Marketplace? Yeah, I don't know about Facebook Marketplace, I'm not gonna lie. But you never know. I'll have to look a little bit. Humanity Restore? Thought this was about weather and not chairs. I like to talk a little bit. We've been talking 2 hours about weather, and I've already gone over everything that I've literally, you know, needed to talk about in this live stream. So this live stream is about to end anyways. So if you need to know more about weather, watch the first 20 minutes. It has all the details for you, or watch the latest weather video here on the channel. It has all the details for you. Literally, the first 20 minutes of this live stream, though, is literally everything that you need to know. So I highly recommend watching the first 20 minutes. Need any details. But, you know, this is just a forecast discussion. I do these quite often for bigger events, so. What's the most memorable weather moment while doing this channel? Actually seeing a tornado live on stream on a live cam was pretty crazy. That was back in the Mississippi, I think it was Mississippi. There was a tornado on the ground in a river, or like some sort of tornado was on the ground for a couple minutes, and we watched it on stream. It was pretty sick. I actually have a video on my second channel of that if you want to check it out. I'll link it. Find that real quick. So for those that are wondering, I do in fact have a video of it. I just went to the wrong page. Whenever I look up North Texas Weather Center on YouTube, it comes up with my max velocity page. It's so crazy. So yeah, if you guys want to watch, probably I would say it's probably my best moment on stream in terms of weather, for sure. I'll link it in chat a few times. You guys can check it out. That's when the tornado happened on live stream. It's pretty cool. It's on my second channel. Further reminder, by the way, if you're just tuning in, like the stream, subscribe if you've not already. We are currently only 84 likes from 1,000. If we could hit 1,000 likes, that'd be sick. Hit the like button. Free to do. But otherwise, let me see if there's any other last second questions here. Who's my favorite baseball player? I have no clue. I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan. I actually have a Red Sox shirt on right now, and they lost today. So I'd say Rafael Devers, to be honest, but I don't really have a favorite. I kind of like Shea Otani, I think his name is. He's pretty cool. Does everything. He's an all-around player. It's pretty cool. Chicago's going to be mainly a damaging wind threat tomorrow. The Jaws donating, like, so one stream, Jaws gifted like 400 memberships or something. I can't remember how many it was, but Jaws gifted like 400 memberships in one stream one time. And that was probably the most memorable moment that's not weather related in a stream, because it was so unexpected. I never even heard of Jaws before until that live stream. He's still around today. I mean, he comes to a lot of these live streams. I think he's sleeping or something, but thank you, Pam, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Alrighty, well, that's gonna be it for the stream tonight. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, before you leave, make sure to like the stream if you enjoyed the live stream. Again, we're only 60 likes now from 1,000. I would appreciate if you hit the like button before you go. Subscribe again if you're new here, and click the bell icon down below so you get notified when I go live. I will not, again, be live tomorrow unless it's a short live stream. I would go live like a couple hours at a time. The problem is I don't have an office chair. It is horrible. I'm literally using a horrible office chair right now. So the other one I had broke last night, unfortunately. So it would be so uncomfortable if I went live. There'll be plenty of other people live though, I'm guessing. So you should be good with coverage there. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Or I really do. I appreciate all the super chats tonight, by the way, guys. You guys went insane with super chats. We had at least 20 super chats tonight. I really do appreciate it. If you want to support the page above and beyond, I would recommend you become a member as low as $2.99 a month. You click the top link in the description. It gives you a ton of benefits. It gives you actually access to like tutorial videos, weather forecasts, and as well as bloopers access. A lot of funny bloopers as well. But otherwise, appreciate everybody tuning in. If you have any other questions, I recommend that you watch the first 20 minutes of this live stream. It has all the information for you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your night, guys. Stay safe tomorrow, most importantly, and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys all again.